We are ready for some Stellaris. So for those of you who did not see any tweets or anything along those lines, I do apologize, but I've noticed a little bit of a bad habit. So I'm going to get just a small bit of housekeeping out of the way. I'll try and load up the game right away because we do have quality options. So good news for me there. But yeah, so the deal with the stream is this. I basically want to stream every scheduled day that I can, barring like genuinely I don't want to say debilitating, but like some kind of sickness or other, other kind of emergency that keeps me from streaming. And that, like, we're talking, I cannot broadcast, not, I've got a bit of a sniffle and I don't feel up to it. Or hardware outage that I'm not able to do. So I remember back with Age of Wonders Planetfall, for instance, my video card basically died halfway through the broadcast, and I was not going to be streaming for a couple of days while I got a replacement. The other case now where I don't stream is when there is a holiday, a Canadian public holiday. And the biggest reason for that is I have noticed a tendency to sort of feel burnout, particularly with work. Streaming, I'm not going to say that it's, all sunshine, but the burnout tends to be because a day when I'm streaming feels a bit like a work day. And so essentially what was happening was, after sort of a period of time, I would wind up kind of feeling like I hadn't had a break for like over a year while I was streaming. And like, it was a little hard to diagnose exactly what was going on because you don't normally register that sort of stuff. But what I basically tend to find is that if I don't take the hey button Sala, good to see you. I'm just justifying my my absence last week, and then we're jumping into the game. I noticed that the next DLC has got a release date, which is actually coming up pretty soon. So we'll see whether or not this playthrough survives to a new patch. But yeah, I guess long story short, and I realize, especially for the YouTube crowd, extended intros are just the easiest way to kill anybody's enthusiasm for a broadcast. But I've been trying to be a little bit better at just taking proper holidays. And the one drawback I have is, because I tend not to be the sort of person who marks down the holidays right away, I will sometimes be surprised by them. So I've gotten a bit better at announcing a holiday, in the preceding broadcast, but I also recognize that that's not great for somebody who only wants to watch me for Stellaris. So obviously the week before last, I didn't say I'm not going to be streaming next Monday because it's Easter, and this is mostly because I didn't quite register that it would be Easter. And then again, there's sometimes exceptions. If I feel up to it, if I have the opportunity, and I don't think it's going to have too bad of an effect, I'll definitely try and do it. But I notice it is better to err on the side of relaxation, as much as that makes me sound like lazy or not really engaged with streaming. I found in the long run it tends to produce both better streams and a little bit more consistency. Also, with that in mind, happy real Easter to all my Orthodox friends. I realize I am about a day late on that, but obviously real Easter is a provocative name. But no, happy Easter to my my Orthodox friends and viewers, and I don't know. I hope everyone enjoyed the time off whenever that was. So I think if I recall correctly, the last broadcast, the real focus was kind of finishing off the fight against the Loxung Grakval Royal States. Looks like they've actually already gotten Oh no, hang on. These are Stellaris ships. Okay, cool. So basically, the aim on this was really to just try and blunt the Lox. Sorry, the Lox Ungrak Va Royal States, and to hope that they don't rearm. Basically, I hope that they don't rearm fast enough to be able to sort of defend themselves. So effectively, what we've got here is we've got a truce until December 9th of 10 years from now. And essentially what I want to have happen, 24081209 or thereabouts, I'm going to want to offer subsidiary status. I get the subjugate casus belli for 1 year. Now the drawback is that if they become equivalent in strength again, I'm not going to be able to use that CB. So the whole point of doing this war, one, was to maybe just get a little bit more, mileage. I don't necessarily like blobbing out my empire that much, but in this case here, it was clear that the Stellar Devourer was not going to be that effective as a buffer anymore, and this was an opportunity for us to really kind of cut down the enemy fleet. Now, of course, if the Nar consciousness wants to take them over, there's really not a whole lot that's stopping them, so that is one risk to the strategy. But the aim here is to just try and get the 10 years to go by to be able to essentially finally vassalize this neighbor, this long-standing rival. And then what we can do is we can start directing our attention towards sort of the different kind of the different alliances, the different federations that are set up, because we're strong enough to be able to take them on, but I sort of want to get to a point where I'm able to, I don't need to worry about this border anymore. I want to worry about either my own expansion, or I want to worry about sort of taking down the next viable candidate. And in the end, that's largely just in the name of slowly creeping up the scores here. And we don't have that much time left, to be completely honest. I mean, we're at number 5, so I'll get rid of some of the lesser ones, but at some point we're probably going to have to go toe-to-toe. My suspicion here would be to go toe-to-toe with the Stellaris link to unseat them, and then if I need to push over the edge, then we try and take out the Nar consciousness, who have been my very long-standing allies. Now, we inherited a whole bunch of planets. That does mean that a bunch of crime, but I think we've more or less solved that particular problem. It also seems like we've got a bunch of science ships without portfolio. So what I'm going to do here, one, I'm going to have a bite of a snack. Well, that didn't work as expected. I have a notebook, but I've got a lot of books on my desktop. So what I want to try and do here is just work out some notes for the playthrough in terms of... I mean, I've normally been keeping it for my fleet quotas, which I'm still going to do. But I want to also keep track of the... I want to keep track of where my science ships are at. So let's actually just start with the... Okay, so I've got my fleets where they need to be, and we've got 4... Wait a minute. It says I have 4 of 4 Titans. There's no Titan in this. What gives? I'm gonna need to... I'm just gonna hold back on that. These numbers don't line up, but I'll think about that later. But just as a bit of... This is mostly just a reference for my benefit. So 1 Titan, 5 battleships, 9 cruisers. Excuse me, 17 destroyers, 34 corvettes. And for the free fleet, 6 battleships, 9 cruisers, 19 destroyers, and 38 corvettes. Okay, so those numbers work out. I don't believe we are producing any more ships. Okay, we are building another Titan, which of course implies for me that I want to make another sort of secondary fleet. So, you know, I'll take one of the spare battleships to the destroyers for the corvettes and use that to seed another fleet, but that's going to take us well over the naval capacity. So the first thing I want to do is sort of get all these other fleet upgrades done before I try any of that. But I can. I've had this really long-standing IOU list of ships, and it's clear that we are at capacity for all of my fleets, which is good. Now, the reason I got the notebook out was I want to see what my science ships are up to. So the From Beyond is assisting research, but where are they assisting research? Thrish. Okay. I'm actually probably going to have to check the individual planet. Yeah, I got to check the planet name. Okay, so the ones that are getting science assistance. We've got Nadal. We've got Zygar 6. Zandaban Prime. Kirok's Private Stash. Kafaroth 1. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm not 100% sure why I've got 4 science ships kicking around. I feel like I'm maybe overcompensated as far as science ships are concerned, but we'll find a use for them. And the biggest thing that I want to do right now is just get an idea of any planets that I might have that are generating lots of science that aren't already being taken care of. So Nadal and Kafaroth 1 are accounted for. Zygar 6 is. Castor isn't really generating enough. Zandaban's good. Zygar Prime. Okay. I mean, it's 92. It's not the end of the world, but it's better than nothing. Faradex has more, so... Okay, and I've got 4 science ships to run around with, so I might even have to deal with the 60s. Okay, so I'm not necessarily going to keep the science ships on all of these worlds, but this should be the priority that I have right now. So we'll start with Zygar Prime. Actually, I can probably just take care of it on the list here. Faradex. Where the devil are you? Okay, this is so much easier if... Oh, no, hang on, there we go. Yeah, it's a generator station, but we put a couple of science buildings on it, so... Dolok. So that's another habitat that's probably close to the home world. And I guess the last thing I'll do is I'll just take a look at the science ship in the Julau system and see if there's any automatic surveying that they can do. If there is, it's nice to have at least one science ship sort of running around taking care of this stuff. I don't believe we have any more debris or anything like that to analyze, but let's see how it goes. Okay, yep, there's at least one. Oh, hang on. Nope, couldn't find anything to do. All right, so we'll send them off to Siluria, and hopefully they will figure out what they want to do with their life. The other advantage here, it's not just the science bonus that I get from that. So in this case here, the science that I'm getting is sort of a side effect of other factors on this world. But it's also just so that I can get my experience for my researchers sort of boosted up. So it's not as good as going out and checking stuff out on their own, but it gives me a chance to keep occupied. Okay, Loxongrak Va has claimed something. I'm not really going to worry about them. Now, what I want to see with the crossover... Okay, so it looks like for one reason or another, we are in a huge mineral deficit. Also a pretty big consumer goods deficit. And I will be honest with you, I don't understand why, because I don't recall being in this position last stream. But that definitely looks kind of permanent. So let's just see what's going on here. So we're trading 132 in minerals. So if I got rid of my trade deals, that would already cover it. And under consumer goods, I actually really thought that we were back in the black with these. But yeah, this is actually a bit of a thornier problem than it looks like, because I've really not built that many sort of mining colonies. So let's think a bit about... So, I mean, I can always buy my way out of this, but let's think about how we're going to restructure some of the conquered worlds. If we can. Yeah, well, it's a mining station already, so... I think we can do a mineral purification plant for a bit of a boost.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
To be honest, my biggest concern right now is... Actually, I think for the time being, let's just buy our way back into... into the black for minerals. That's an expensive order. So this is enough to, this is actually enough to put me into a deficit. But we'll see what the consequences. Oh, sorry, I need to use my influence. Advanced torpedoes with very powerful warheads. They have a sleeker design, faster engines, and upgraded shield modulators for slipping through energy screens. So for engineering, usually I still want to go for the cheap tech, but see, Habitat World is really good for my advancement, but Titan hull points make my ship scarier. I'm going to do the improved Titan hulls just because it's going to take us a while to upgrade our habitats anyway, and I need to do something with my influence. So, I think the first thing I want to do with my influence is to embiggen some of my more populous worlds. So I think probably under the, not expansion planner, but planets and sectors. Oh, it doesn't tell me how big everything is. How do I make sense out of this? I mean, they're all Gaia worlds, so it's not like Okay, it's at max capacity. Let's just say decision. We will... Yeah, Mastery of Nature, 2,000 energy, 100 influence. And I don't recall if we can do that. Wow, we can do that on more than one. Okay. I don't want to go crazy about this, but we do have a lot of energy. I think I'll maybe bring myself down to 500 influence, and then we'll call it for the Mastery of Nature. Interesting, and we're still making money after buying so many minerals. Okay, cool. I am not going to complain about being able to continue.
Production hub established.
Oop. Okay, so this is a tricky one just because the like we had originally colonized this world assuming that we could turn it into a Gaia world right away. In this case, we already used the new Bale seed for another planet, one of the conquered ones. So we're going to make this a mining world just because it's okay for mining districts. I'm going to do my usual setup of... Oh god, what is... I don't even remember my usual setup anymore. We definitely put a gene clinic down. What did I do on Nadal? Clearly not... Don't I have any normal colonies anymore? Right, fortress and a hollow theater. Okay, that makes sense. I think I'll put the hollow theater down first. Okay, so yeah, we already cleaned ourselves out as far as minerals are concerned, but we should be able to get by. And what's going on Siluria? So currently we've got unemployment. I think I'm actually just going to start them off on the... Oh, that's not where I want it. Odranus. We'll just put them on the new... Well, I don't have to. I suppose we can put them on media as well. I do eventually want to populate Hodranus reasonably quickly, but we'll work with what we've got. Okay, this thing is, I guess, 1791? Yeah, okay. Our trade treaty with the Techaris Link has ended because we lack the minerals to maintain it. Oof! Alright, they're actually going to be pretty mad about that. But it does mean that we can cancel the, the mineral order. Wow, we still have a deficit on that, huh? Okay. I can definitely remember back when we had too much. Okay, so now we're back in a surplus for minerals. That's weird. So this is really embarrassing as far as energy credits are concerned. And I'm definitely going to want to sort of rein some of this in. But for now, I'm just going to stay at this equilibrium because there's definitely stuff that I want to be building on this world. Research is broken with the Techaris Link. I'm assuming that's because they're a bit mad at us over the... yeah, so we just had a reduction in... Yeah, reduction in relations because of the trade deal. Now that, I mean, that's a shame because that research agreement was actually pretty good for us. But that's, you know, that's on me for not keeping a closer eye on my mineral usage. If nothing else, if I'd just been buying more every month, I could have been better off. But we'll get through it.
We built something.
Okay. It's another construction taken care of. Right, okay, we've got nothing to do for my construction ships. Now, at some point, I'm going to be doing sort of upgrades and just general general maintenance of my existing fleets. Actually, it looks like these guys... Okay, yeah, no, they're already on the way for ship upgrades. So I'm just going to accumulate these alloys for a bit, and then we'll worry about our next batch of... Actually, how many more citadels can I make? I'll worry about the construction on the citadels a little bit later. But for now, I just want to see whether or not there's anything else. Okay, cool. So it looks like I actually need to decide what I'm doing with most of these. Okay, so this is defensive. Julau used to be defensive. It's kind of hard to say that it still is. So we'll give that a question mark, I think. Takvan. Okay, Julau and Takvan are kind of in the same boat. Ulfau... Oh my god. That's disgusting. Okay, this is definitely something that needs to be revised. So, Deep Space Black Site is definitely a priority for this one. So this isn't really defending anything. I mean, I get why the AI did this, but let's see if we can maybe make something a little more exciting out of this. Now, I was under the impression that there were worlds here. Yeah, so I should be able to build... There we go. Okay. So, extra unity from the Deep Space Black Site for sure. I am inclined towards things like resource silos, just because, you know, being able to do more, or get more storage capacity would definitely help me. And I definitely like the idea of a hangar bay, but I do have a question in terms of how much trade is really being protected here. So maybe what I will do, we will replace one of these with a hangar bay. Trade hub would increase the collection range, so let's just make sure we don't have any trade unaccounted for. Not really. So instead, these are going to become anchorages, and that's going to mean eventually we're going to replace... we're going to be replacing these with... It's already queued for construction. Okay. Oh, great. So we can already put a naval logistics office, and that's going to basically get us a head start on our next navy. Tenica. Okay. So this actually is a defensive. This is a defensive structure. So. This is too much to think about right now. Let's focus on. Let's focus on the sort of the free ones. Okay, so Zygar definitely gets a Deep Space Black Site. But then the question is, what do I do with the rest of these? Because if I recall correctly, we do have some piracy problems. It seems that Zygar doesn't really provide any protection. So we'll add another hangar bay. I might want to add a third, so we're gonna leave Zygar alone, just because we may want to add a little bit more to secure this trade. Like, if I can secure my trading routes, that's gonna free up one of my, that's gonna free up my navy. I don't have to patrol this nonsense anymore. So I'm happy with where Zygar is at for the moment. I am cautiously optimistic on the prospect of this, of Lishval not requiring any more adjustments. Now, what's funny about Lishval... Oh, I get it. Yeah. So Lishval, once upon a time, was in a defensive position. So this is actually a really tricky one. So I should either be Siluria or a Lishval. I'm much better served by having sort of a defensive... So either demolishing the starbase because we don't need it anymore, or putting it on the border of something that needs to be protected. I'm not entirely sure I want to do that, though. So let's say I'm going to build at least one more trade hub. Now, I can't recall if off-world trading companies... Right, okay. So I'm actually going to build a second. So what I want to do here is I want to get that level 8 trade value in Pandil. So second one there. So now we're going to do an off-world trading company to get the bonus. We'll do a naval logistics office. We will do a resource silo. And then the last two will be anchorages. I've already done the naval... Yeah, okay, good. So there is something of a question as to whether or not this is a good use of my resources. Just for the simple reason that the... there is a penalty that I'm paying for Starbase upkeep, and obviously here we're a little things. Times are tight for the budget, but for now, let's work with what we've been given. I think I'll put a resource silo down here. That's kind of how I've been handling resource shortfalls. Okay, Nadal. Now it seems to me Nadal is in. Nope, it's not lawless space yet. So that one can afford to support the Navy. Where on earth did it go? Right, Thresh, sorry. So yeah, normally here I'd be doing a hangar bay, but I currently don't have much use for one. So a couple extra anchorages, we will put a resource silo in because we can. There might be some ideas in terms of things like transit hubs. So all unemployed worker and drone pops from the system will, unless subjugated to other migration controls, automatically migrate to other planets with decent habitability, free housing, and jobs in systems which have transit hubs. So there's sort of an argument for doing this just to, keep it so that I'm not micromanaging all of that. But I'm doing it already, right? So we'll just leave that open. I might do something like hydroponics bays or something like that so I have more food to trade, but I'm really not that worried about our options here. Okay, now Subra seems to me in the middle of lawless space. Yeah, so we are definitely going to add a couple of fighter bays. I'd say at least 2. I kind of want to add a third, but let's not go crazy. Sorry, hangar bays. And then definitely anchorages. And then resource silo. Okay, Grunner. I think Grunner's in a similar situation. Yeah. So this is one of these ones that doesn't really require that much defending. Let's maybe make sure that there's no trade for me to pick up conveniently. If I could put down something like a nebula refinery, that would be really nice, but we don't have it, so... Okay, Siluria. The real trick on these is just to make sure that I'm not signing myself up for more piracy. Looks like we're fine though, so the story with Siluria goes, I guess all anchorages all the way. Deep Space Black Site, Naval Logistics Office, Resource Silo. And again, we'll figure out the rest as we go by. I'm also not that opposed to... I'm not even that opposed to like messing around with some other alternatives. Okay, so looks like I've actually got some decisions to make on this one. How did I build terminal egress? Alright, I will admit, I'm a little surprised I did that. Given the fact that Vite is actually in the middle of a pretty lawless part of the galaxy, I think I'm just going to stick a whole bunch of hangar bays on the rest of this. Maybe we'll just see if there's any trade. Nope. So, hangar bays on the rest of it. We are definitely going to build a lot of defensive platforms when we can. Target uplink computer, that helps ships. Okay, definitely defense platform. Oh no, this is for defense platform. Okay, yeah, no. So the target uplink computer is exactly what I want in this case. And okay, Vite, I'm gonna just hang on to for a little bit. Now, this is another lawless space problem, but Zandaban is not really that close to the action. So we're going to do the usual deep space black site. This, again, should be helping out our Unity, which is definitely much more important now. Then we give them a resource silo, and I think this one we just throw a bunch of anchorages down, which means we also get a naval logistics office. Okay. So, the last question is basically just how many of these alloys do I put towards defensive platforms? First thing I'm going to do is actually get an ion cannon built. Only one, but... and we'll maybe leave 2,000 for the upgrade. Oh, looks like we're at max capacity. Cool. So this is going to take a while to build up, but essentially this is going to be sort of how we hold back... the Miravandia Imperial Sons. These are the people we're most likely to go to war with. I'll get some upgrades in a little bit as well, but at the moment here I'd sort of like to get my ship upgrades, and I'd kind of like to just recharge after all these expenses that I've put in. Okay, we leave nothing to chance, no matter the cost. Through exacting curation of DNA banks, do we build the leaders of tomorrow. So this was leader enhancement, capacity boosters, and I can mess around with my fleet command limit after taking all the time to carefully balance all of it. I'm going to try and put off the hour of doom and do eco-integration studies first. Again, the name on this is just to get my overall science stat up rather than try to get at any particular technology. It feels like normal speed has also gotten a little bit faster, but I think I've said that a couple of times now, so I suspect I'm probably just... I'm just not remembering things properly. Okay, looks like we're doing okay for alloys, even though we're upgrading a lot of ships. So I'm going to take a second here and get some other upgrades in.
Boom! We built something.
Okay, that's mining station. We're good there.
We really pushed the envelope on these ships.
Okay, that's a new batch of ship upgrades. Okay, what's the deal here? Our trade treaty with the Stellaris link has timed out. Ah, okay, so we were trading for alloys here. So we're going to see a reduction in our alloys, but we're going to see a much-needed boost to our energy reserves. So I'm okay letting that trade deal expire. We can always reevaluate our alloy position a little bit in the future. Okay. So right now, I'm just gonna take a second here to play around with my notebook. So obviously the market price, that's going to fluctuate. But let's just say at the current rate, we're at 910. And if I recall correct, oh, you know what? I probably canceled the, yeah. I probably should have found out what the rate was with the Stellaris link before. So like right now, we're getting 110 at 910. So like obviously we're spending a lot, right? So maybe what I'll just see here, because I've got the Actually, I'm going to check a few things. So the question right now is going to be, is there a way that I can buy the resources that I need from an ally at a rate that's better than the market rates? And I'm actually going to do that for everything that I'm buying, and I should take a look and see whether or not I can get a better rate in terms of sales as well. So we're going to put buy side. And again, it's maybe not the... So if you really want to like sit down and be like really thorough about this, what you want to do is sort of anticipate what the movements in the markets are going to be as well. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So in this case here, I'm just sort of going to take the current market prices prevailing. If I do a trade deal and the price of alloys craters, then I've signed myself up for a really bad deal. And if I if there's a war and the price of alloys just skyrockets, then I look like a genius. And actually, this is this is the whole point of, in the real world, this is what futures contracts are about. Sometimes, if you ever wonder, so every once in a while, people will ask, I've actually been asked in this stream, what's the purpose of short selling? Part of it, and I understand, this is an argument that you will often hear from participants in financial markets where you're not really sympathetic to them, but there is actually something to be said for the argument of market making. So essentially, some people might say, oh, it's terrible that people are able to gamble on these certain outcomes. But obviously we think insurance can be a good idea at times. How you doing, Olaf? Good to see you. And, to a certain extent, the insurance company is taking on a risk. And it's not that, you don't get insurance because you're hoping for the big payout, because that usually means something really bad has happened to you. Instead, what's happening here is we're sort of preparing ourselves for contingencies. And so, if you're, let's say, taking care of a bakery, you would prefer to just have an idea in terms of what the cost of flour is going to be. If you can keep that steady, you're going to be able to just run your business and be all right. In fact, Arizona Tea has been able to maintain its 99 cents price partly because of futures contracts. It didn't need to worry so much about, I think it was aluminum that they had some contracts for. Those have expired now, so I think their margins are shrinking. But basically, the idea here is that you're sort of locking in a price so that you can focus on the thing that you're very good at. And, you're essentially sort of paying a certain amount, or you're engaging in a financial transaction in order to be able to do this thing, lock in this price, basically be able to make sure that you have some stability in the work that you're doing. Now, you do need a counterparty to that. And in this case, sometimes those scummy Wall Street types are actually very helpful for that, because they'll, of course, do their financial alchemy to try and make sure that they've got their side covered. And again, all of this is largely a transfer of risk. But essentially, this is kind of what I'm doing with the market inside of Stellaris here. I'm saying, okay, I will accept that right now this current price is quite high. And maybe the contract that I'm going to go into with the Techaris or the Nar Consciousness or something like that is maybe not advantageous. Maybe the price will go down. But as long as I can sort of assure myself a certain influx of alloys over time, I'm happy. I'm going to be able to plan with that in mind. And of course, if it goes too low, I can always just drive the price up by buying some extra on the free market. But that's kind of what I'm doing here. And sometimes it's nice to relate these concepts to the real world. Although I realize that most of the time when I talk about this stuff, people assume that I'm, I have a particular political persuasion and quietly unsubscribe. But yeah, I'm a little bit behind on some of the outside of streaming work that I wanted to do, Olaf, but I'm feeling all right otherwise. I hope you're doing well. It was actually really nice to see you on Ariella's stream yesterday. Okay, so I think I'm paying it's not $9.90. Well, I sort of am. We're paying about 1,000 for our alloys. Let's just say 9.10 for the I'll just take the market price for these things. I spent so much time talking about it, and then I sort of ignored it. Okay. We're buying consumer goods. So 222. Kind of hard to see us getting a better deal on these, but getting ready for a few hours of WoW raids. Excellent. I don't think I've done a WoW raid since Ice Crown Citadel, so I suspect the experience is probably quite different now. I'm really curious. I have a feeling that Microsoft won't do it, but I am a little curious as to whether or not World of Warcraft would wind up as part of the Game Pass. Because like Elder Scrolls Online is sort of part of the Game Pass through ZeniMax, but I don't think you get like I don't think you get like the subscription part of it. So it's kind of hard to say that you'd see like one of the most reliable like recurring monthly revenue sources. And like, let's face it, World of Warcraft's expensive compared to the other stuff. So I just really don't see Microsoft. I just don't see Microsoft like giving up such a good source of revenue. But who knows, right? Do you have a favorite Borderlands game out of curiosity, Olaf? Because I know that one. The two games I know you really like are Vermintide and partly Vermintide you just brought up here. And at this point, if you ever do want to do Vermintide, I would love to play it with somebody who can play it at a high level. Like I know Vermintide is one I know from here, and then Borderlands I know from the Ari stream. So, see, $9.99 a month on top. That actually sounds really reasonable. But when I went to look for it, like it felt like a lot more. Actually, sorry, I'm curious. I'm sorry to go off topic here, but I'm actually curious in Canadian dollars. I am slightly curious. But yeah, you're right. Like paying for the subscription is pretty galling. Okay, so at the 6-month subscription special, best value, it's $16.34 a month Canadian. 3 months, $17.50 per month Canadian. And yeah, this is the number that just boggled my mind. $18.99 Canadian a month to play World of Warcraft. Like $20 to play an MMO for me? No, like there's just no way I can justify that. Even at $16.34 a month is kind of like, how much am I playing this game really? So I actually think I wound up buying an expansion and like playing it for a month or two, and then just wound up like effectively I just gave money to Activision Blizzard. But on the other hand, like if that is your thing, that is a very good use of the money, because like I know World of Warcraft is something that people really love. So, and I mean, if you look at Stellaris too, right, what you pay in terms of the DLC, and there's now subscription services for some, if not, I'm pretty sure it's just some of the Paradox games. But obviously, you can pay up for this sort of stuff as well. So it's kind of a question of willingness to pay and what you're getting out of it. But certainly, it's a surprising number when you look at it. Like I will confess, I actually kind of find it hard to wrap my head around the idea of paying $20 a month for the right to play a game. And I think to a certain extent, it's just because so many of the like lower cost options are so many of the alternatives are like much lower cost and potentially free. So like Warframe is a game you can really enjoy without paying too much, I guess. Hard to say. There's so many things in the first Burning Legion, but you love the right. Oh, see, I've never associated World of Warcraft with its writing. That's actually really interesting. Okay, so let's just try a simple, I'll say like 8 energy credits in exchange for 1 alloy. Okay, so they're like kind of, they're open to the possibility, let's say. So let's just do nice round numbers. So 100 alloys for 800. Because like normally once you get crossover into certain numbers. Okay, yeah, so they're not interested in this. I'm sure we can sort of sweeten the pot a little bit, but once we start getting to the 9s, yeah, that's not happening. Okay. So let's take a quick look at consumer goods. Now, I don't actually need to trade that many of these. We just need 73. So let's see if we can get our existing... let's see if we can get our existing number... Whoa! Wrong way. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, they don't have any. There's no point in even trying. So minerals. That's almost certainly not going to work, but we are currently buying 200. Yeah, they basically just don't want to trade with me. That's the easy way of looking at this. One interesting question I have, though, is can I get a better deal on my food? So let's just say, for the sake of the argument, we went up to... Okay, fair enough. I have not yet canceled my existing. But am I able to get... So, like, would I be able to get 58 for this? Interesting. So I can get a better deal on my food. Actually, a significantly better deal on my food. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is cancel this food trade. Because it looks to me like I can get a pretty good deal with an ally. Next up. So Tecarus Link is really the only other ally for me. So I'm going to... So again, this is, I'm just going to try and play around with nice round numbers for the start, and then we can refine it afterwards. So we go for 100, and... Okay, so I can get a better deal with... Okay, so the first thing I want to do is convert my existing monthly trade. So I'm currently getting 110. Yeah, so like this is a really good deal for me here. I'm already knocking, I'm basically knocking a full energy credit off of every alloy that I buy. So the next question is, how much of my existing energy reserves do I want to commit towards this? The fact of the matter is, I actually kind of want to put a lot into this. So here's... I'm going to do something a little bit different. So we definitely want to do an alloy deal with the Tecarus, but let's see if we can handle our mineral and consumer goods trades first. So I think I needed like 70. Let's just say 70. Okay, yeah, that's not happening. What about minerals? So 200, and we're currently paying 125. So effectively, we want to pay 200 for... Yeah, okay, that's definitely not happening. So if any trade that we do is going to be alloy-based. So we're currently doing 100... So, like, my inclination, honestly, is to say, let's put 500 energy credits towards an existing trade, and then let's get our 110. Well, it was 8 per unit, right? Actually, I should probably have worked out, God, what was it? How much are we actually earning? It says 1K, it should say 1257, okay. Well, honestly, it's not bad to have a surplus. Does it really only give me 62? I'm going to regret doing this. I'm going to go for 200 alloys. 210. Oh, Jesus. Energy credits, you fool. Oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, so it's not letting me spend that much. Okay. That's the game telling me don't be ridiculous. I also want to make sure this is still a good deal for me, so I'm actually going to use a calculator on this one. So 1234, 160. $7.7, that's still a good deal. So we will... Yeah, can't go any thinner than that. So we'll see if they take it.
Construction complete.
Okay, they like the deal. So basically we're adding another 50 to our... we're adding another 50 to our order, but we're getting it at a full unit less. So we're spending more on alloys overall, but we're kind of making our energy credits travel a little longer. And we're now going to negotiate a better deal for the food. So we were doing a trade of 70. I might make that a little bit more enticing. Let's go up to 90 as long as we can get a good deal with the Nar consciousness. Okay, so 161 for 90. Again, I'll just do the calculation here. So we're getting 1.7, where currently we're getting 0.9. So, I mean, it's almost double what we're getting for our existing food stores. That seems like a pretty good deal to me. And actually, so the interesting thing about this one is that makes an argument for me building even more of a food surplus, because if I can just sell that to the Nar consciousness, then you know, effectively that's another way for me to generate energy credits. Let's see whether or not they take the deal, of course. All right, so they didn't like that. 90 for 161. Let's see if we can make that happen again. Yeah, it's that one credit that was the difference, so.
We really push the envelope on these ships. Ship status cutting edge.
Cool. Now, the thing that's crazy about this is that I originally did the deal with the Stellaris, thinking that I was going to be like close to 500, but we're actually saving so much on all this work, and we're going to have another 100 coming in. We're still generating over 1,000 in terms of energy credits. So I think in this case we're just going to go back to the well for the Stellaris and see if we can maybe knock out, let's say, another 200 credits worth. I don't normally like breaking these deals up like this, but we'll see. We'll see what we can get away with. So that's so that's 869. I mean, that's a considerably higher rate than we were paying before. It's not as bad as the market rate, but Honestly, for 23 alloys, we'll just produce them ourselves. I don't mind having a big... So the thing that's nice, right, is that I've got a nice big stockpile of energy credits now, so I can just buy them when they're on sale. So at the end of the turn, we should see what our energy credits are after all of the work. Okay. In fact, maybe what I'll do... We'll just raise the number of minerals that we're buying so that we can fulfill our destiny. Oh, I had an ideal world template before. Sorry, I'm just going to take a second here and... Oh, please tell me I didn't... No, I deleted it. Okay, this is probably not a bad example. So let's just see, is it 5? Yeah, so it seems to consistently be 5 on all the other worlds. So, I should probably just take a second here and say, okay, we've got a fortress. It's kind of tough to say it for individual worlds just because, you know, there's obviously other improvements that I can do, but that at least gives me a start. So the reason why I'm interested in this was for Hodranus. So currently we're working on 2 city districts. We can do 3 more. And then we can load up on mines. And then the rest of this is just going to be improvements sort of towards that end. And we can actually also pay for clearing blocks. And Grunner, we can move to... I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the most... the planet with the most jobs we'll move people to, at least until we come up with a, you know, with a better alternative for the system. The other thing I want to do, now that we've got a fairly decent amount in terms of minerals coming in, I probably do need to think about what my final improvements are going to be. So for instance, on the agri world, we've got a stronghold, we've got food processing, a military academy, probably just want to do another refinery if I'm completely honest, but we'll take a quick look. All right, the Lox Ungrak Va Royal States have taken on the challenge of building a science nexus, a research institute so technically advanced that it could revolutionize the scientific process completely. The Sirma system is bustling with activity as engineers are assembling the initial build site. Regardless of whether they fail or succeed, trying alone has earned them a place among the great forerunners of our time. As always, they're overreaching. Okay, unfortunately the denouncement failed. Normally it's nice to have opponents weakened. Okay, so as far as I'm also just taking a quick look here at the agri world, so I think we've kind of gone as far as we can. We do have, this counts as a nope, that's... Okay, so we've got 2 managers. It's not the most exciting option. So I'm slightly inclined towards the corporate culture site. I'm just trying to think if there's any other benefit that I can... Why did I build a hydroponics farm? I think maybe we'll replace that with something else. I mean, there is a question as to what exactly I think I'm replacing it with. An administrative office would not be the end of the world, I suppose. Probably better to invest in strategic resources, though. So let's say... I think we'll just put another gas refinery. So there is the challenge that we are putting more strain on our minerals, which is gonna... That's definitely gonna be a problem. I can't believe I'm building another agro world. But obviously I had a plan there. Oh right, this is one of the conquered worlds, I think. Okay, well, unlucky for the executives, they don't have anything to do right now. Okay, fair enough. So what do we do with Dolok Habitat then? Currently, it's an industrial... Okay, well, obvious first step with the industrial district. Or is it? Because we get a chance for another habitation district. This is going to be one I check for the wiki, actually. So what I'm interested in here is what does the habitat upgrade give me? Oh, does it not let me... maybe decisions? So all I'm looking for here... Okay, upgrade habitat. So we go from size 4 to size 6. I think it's probably better for me to acknowledge that I'm just not going to be seeing that many more habitation districts. So let's focus on what we're good at, which is industrial. We will, in this case, build a Ministry of Production if I can. Yes, we can. Do we have the... volatile? We do have the volatile motes for it, but it's not... We're getting short. I think it's still worth it, though. Okay. God, what do I want to do with you? Okay, so we've got our energy grids, we've got our stronghold. We'll definitely build a stock exchange here. Just looking at the trade value. Traditionally, I have made these Commerce Megaplex. My God. Okay, yeah, we're already replacing it. Good. Okay, well, we'll put down a chemical plant because we know we're running short on those, and we're out of minerals, so I can't do my mad expansions anymore. Sorry I'm taking the time on these, but it's actually time for me to start really digging into some of the structures that I've put in place, because
ships upgraded.
I do need to prepare either for the next war, or I need to prepare for the possibility of something like the Khan waking up.
Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
Once these ships, sorry to eat on the broadcast, once these ships get upgraded, We're going to go after the Stellar Devourer. The basic mechanics of ship shields are complex, but they can be adjusted and improved in a multitude of ways. So I think this one's automatically being investigated.
We really push the envelope on these ships.
I don't recall if the percent-based upgrades actually force you to do the ship upgrade. I'm going to assume that they don't, but you know, I actually don't know one way or the other. I can test, but it's not really worth putting that much effort into right now. Okay. I am going to need to do another batch of sort of alloy jobs for some of my basically it'll be my defensive regions afterwards. But for the time being, I'd kind of like to focus on some of my other tasks. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's gonna say that forever.
Ship status cutting edge.
Okay. Again, we're sort of waiting out the Loxongrak-Va Royal States. They're still not in a good state, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's actually the economy I want to see weak, because if the economy is weak,
we really push the envelope on these ships.
We know that they're not going to be able to sort of support the kind of fleet that they can defend themselves with. Okay, so we've got our Titan. You'll also notice we've got a little bit more naval capacity now, so that's going to start growing over time. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to transfer out a battleship. There was a battleship, 2 destroyers, and 4 corvettes, if memory serves. So that's so I can combine it with the Titan here. Now these guys... Nope, that's not right. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, these guys can go back home for an upgrade, and then they're going to be sort of the foundation for the next fleet that I build. Eventually, I'll upgrade this one, but I do kind of like the idea.
Status cutting edge.
I do kind of like the idea of taking advantage of the the existing patrol route just to kind of keep my income up. It does look like we're actually starting to bleed some energy credits a bit, so this probably is because I'm putting too much pressure on the price of minerals. I'm not sure, but I want to keep an eye on it. What else? Okay. Lots of unemployment. Okay, so Subra, what's your story? More importantly, who's unemployed? Okay, so this is a Raxar. The big deal here with the Raxar is I actually kind of want to make sure that the I'm sort of outpopulating some of the I want to kind of make sure that I've got a lot of Raxar on the worlds I just conquered to try and help maintain order. But that does come with the cost that we do have... Oh, actually, you know what? Hodranus would have been a better... Probably would have been a better call. I'm going to add Zach Plot to Media 3, just out of caution. And actually, for Katanab, Let's see if we can have a little more luck. I think I'm going to have the same problem, but... Oof! Yeah. Let's not import unrest to the new colony.
Push the envelope on these ships. Ships upgraded.
Okay. Game's making lots of promises about upgrades, but I still seem to keep having to hit this stupid upgrade button. Okay, the Void Scott. Okay, we're actually getting ready to. We're actually at a point where we can start seeing some results. More Zach plot. Okay, so against my better judgment, let's throw you onto the. Excellent. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to try. So I wasn't. Obviously, I was willing to move the executives to another world where they might still be executives, but the aim on this one was actually to just try and get ourselves to a point where we can upgrade the building, because I think this should wind up giving at least one executive job here, which means that I don't need to wait for them to decay. I am also a little curious in terms of the state of... okay, we're about 2 years away from being able to turn that into a Gaia world. Following a long period of growing support for the Committee of Sacred Traditions, the enlightened Kingdom of Conoramus have finally embraced the faction, adopting their core values and policies. As a result of bringing this faction into their government, they have become more outwardly spiritualist. Now, I also want to take a quick look at espionage. Okay, so I'm kind of wasting time with these guys, so let's prepare sleeper cells. And in the Loxongrak Va, yep, we can also do sleeper cells, so I probably should have done that earlier. But this will free me up to do other nasty business. Okay.
We really push the envelope on these ships.
I don't think I'm quite ready to replace the Cyto Revitalization centers here. But I do think there's a bit of sense in maybe turning this into some kind of a refinery. So let's give these guys chemical plants. My Forge World, lots of options here. So definitely go nuts on industrial districts. And even though it's a Forge World, I think we can... I think we can afford to put civilian industries down as well. God, these things annoy me. This is probably going to create a bunch of unemployment, but... so... Oh god, yeah. So I think I told myself I was gonna worry about this stuff later, and later never came. So we're probably going to see a big drop in trade value because of the getting rid of the commerce megaplexes, but I think the Galactic Stock Exchange will still work. Okay, we've got a Hall Fader already. Culture site wouldn't hurt. Oh, we didn't do a fortress yet. Okay. So I kind of messed up the design of this, but... Actually, if this is going to be good at generating amenities, maybe I want to... Well, no, that's fine, because we can replace the robot assembly plants with something, something Unity producing. Okay, I can live with that. Media 3A, what's the story with you? So I've already decided this is a unification center. I think most of my clerks are going to be... well, no, it's not... Yeah, it's specialists, though, who are the... So we've already got the culture site down, we've already got the holo theater, so it might actually be just as easy as putting down a whole bunch of administrative offices and calling it a day. That's going to absolutely demolish my consumer goods. But, oh, actually, there is maybe one thing I want to do. I want to get into the habit of putting down military academies. We'll start with 3. Maybe take it from there. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see where the rest of this goes. I'm actually going to put System Capital Complex at the top of the list. Okay, how are our fleets doing? Okay, we still have some upgrades to finish. But we are sitting on 15k for alloys, so my next goal here should be any defensive system. Nope. The Mirovandia Imperial Sons, let us end this meaningless rivalry. So maybe they've seen the strength of our base. The thing is that these are a natural expansion point for me. So, like, it would be nice if I didn't have to fight the entire Federation, but that Federation's not going to break itself up. So I'm probably committed to trying to punch these guys on the nose. Okay, let's resettle onto... I do so under some
really push the
some concern, but
ships. We really push the envelope on these ships.
okay, this is looking good. So let's have a chat with the Curator Order. Tell us about the mysteries... Sorry, we possess detailed star charts for the entire galaxy, gathered by explorers from 100 different races. Perhaps they would be of interest to you. Tell us about the mysteries of the universe. There are exceedingly powerful entities lurking within certain star systems in our galaxy. At great cost in both lives and resources, Curator agents have painstakingly gathered knowledge that should make these beings easier to deal with the next time you encounter them. Tell us about the Stellar Devourer. The Stellar Devourer is a new parasite on the galactic hunting ground, not unlike your empire in many ways. It was born out of fear and nuclear fusion. It roams the galaxy, submerging itself into stars, feasting on them from within. And it certainly does not like being disturbed. What is it really? The Star Feaster is a rare breed, a new type of beast of unknown origin. The accounts we have collected are few and sparse with intel. Few sources even have first-hand experience with the thing. All our data points to the same fact, however. It is a terror that brings nothing but ruin. The Stellar Devourer is capable of feeding off fusion itself. Our very educated guess is that its biology is the result of some outer-dimensional fusing of dark matter and solar matter. It dives into stars, feasting on their innards in order to fuel its own internal fusion reactor. It brings death to all systems it reaches. Either they shatter like ice after its banquet, or they burn from being exposed to a second sun from within the being's belly. It wants to feed, and it will stop at nothing to get its share. When you gaze at it, what you see is a survivor's raw fury. Tell us how to defeat it. The only thing we know for sure is that the collected core is the most important aspect of the Stellar Devourer. The creature desperately needs to keep its furnace burning, lest the cold void of space reach its vital organs deeper within and makes it collapse in on itself. Without that stellar matter, it is nothing. You can use this to your advantage. Calibrate your weapons to our specifications, and you can then home in on the very membranes that hold the Devourer's digestive system together. Wound it, and you will see the innards gush out across the solar system. So I'm assuming it's also going to tell me that our fleet is one of the mightiest, but it would not be a bad idea for us to just verify that. Yours is a mighty fleet comparable to some of the greatest armadas recorded in the annals of the Curator Order. Victory is certainly within your reach. Okay, so there is a small temptation to take this... actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to upgrade the patrol fleet. I'm going to take these 3 on a trip to the Stellar Devourer. We're going to turn off the block. I may also consider trying to take out the Grand Dragon, but the drawback is if I do that, then the Neutraxians will probably be able to colonize that world, and I sort of want that world. Sorry again. I'm snacking. So we'll see how we handle the Devourer first. I should probably get a construction ship in the region as well to claim the system right away. Senate is now in session to change the council size. Ah, damn it! This is gonna pass. Maybe one of the council members will oppose to. Yep. Okay. We just need the Techaris on board, and our operatives are drawing up a short list of potential sleeper cells within the Confederation of Zaco. They hope to find a set of suitable positions where agents may appear innocuous and yet remain poised to strike for a prolonged period of time. Acknowledged. Ooh, yeah, look at those energy credits. So I may need to draw back on the minerals for a bit, but I'm going to try and hang on to it for as long as I possibly can. In the meantime, I want a quick peek at not my policies. We've got 422 before we can make another Gaia world. Okay, so I was gonna worry about my defensive structures.
Technology discovered.
Holy crap! Oh wait, that's my that's my fleet going out. I'm not gonna freak out about that. Additional study into different planetary climates will allow us to settle our population on worlds, previously thought too hostile to support them. Let's go for nutrient replication. I guess I can sell the surplus to my allies. Okay, so again, this is a focus on defensive stations. So Castor, there is an interesting question as to whether or not I want to try and defend even more. I mean, there's a really good argument here for me to just kind of go nuts on more hangar bays, right? So then we'll also... Oh, we can put a black site down. It's kind of rare that I get to do that. And I guess... So defense grid is kind of tempting because of the extra defense cap. But I think in this case, this actually isn't a really critical defensive structure. So I think in this case, I'll sort of kind of settle for the status quo. Okay, Julao, what's your story? Well, you're not really defending anything, are you? Right, that was definitely one of my I don't know what I'm doing with you yet. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine with terminal egress. Okay, Vite is definitely on its way to becoming what it was meant to be, so no worries there. Takvan, right, too difficult for me to deal with. The agreement we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information we offer? Definitely extend the deal. Okay, so max piracy is 7645.
Technology.
Okay, yeah, so seems to me like we're already protected. It's actually only Sidar that's not handled, so that's generally good news. It means that Zygar can sort of afford to think about other things. I think we'll do anchorages. Like, trade routes are kind of tempting because of the off-world trading company, but I think I'll be able to live without Okay, Tenica, I really do need to be putting in a defensive position. So, like, I'm not going to get rid of the trade hub, but I probably should have been a little more defensive focused. So we'll put a couple extra hangar bays in. This is one... I will do the offer to trading company because we've got the trade hub. But we'll give it the target uplink computer, and then we're going to give it a ton of defense platforms. Okay, Shorax. You are not a defensive structure, but you are protecting my trade. Oh no, hang on, you are defensive. Okay, that's a whole other story. So we're going to get you a gun battery, a missile battery, we're going to give you a couple extra hangar bays, then we will go target uplink, communications jammer, disruption field generator, and you get everything. Lishval. Looks like we're already working on you. Subra? Well, we don't have any alloys. Sorry, that's why it's not working out. Okay, Titan hull points 2,000. So again, the interesting question here would be, you know, when you get something like a Titan hull point improvement, are you in a situation where you have to do the upgrade? I don't know if this is the percent-based one as well, but what I tend to do when I see these kinds of upgrades, I get an idea in terms of which ones require the, you know, the full fleet upgrades. So we're in good shape here. Advances in building techniques will allow for the construction of sturdier and more durable Titans. Moving on, we've got synth leaders, robot modification points, kinetic artillery. We'll do modification points because it's the cheapest. And a list of targets has been finalized and our operatives have been quietly drifting their way into position. They await our signal to begin establishing sleeper cells. I think I was talking about this when the Espionage first arrived in the game. Excellent! Alright. But I have been enjoying The Americans, so I finished Season 3. That is a really good show. I realize it's old. Like, most of the TV, actually most of the movies as well, most of the stuff I watch tends to be old, but that's just because, like, for me, I have never individually paid for cable, or like any, like the closest I've gotten is as part of my Apple One subscription, I get Apple TV Plus. And honestly, that's because I was already paying for the news and the games app. And I eventually decided, like, because I have a watch now, it's like, why not get the fitness and everything as a nice bonus. Also, actually, I finally was compelled by iCloud because of their, like, their private relay stuff. So, but yeah, so basically, like, the way I get to watch shows are, like, when they become available as, like, discs at the library, or, you know, basically stuff that you, like, if I can access it through the library, I'll watch it. But of course, you don't put your new stuff in that format. You usually want to kind of keep it on your, you know, your private platform. So, anyways, obviously all the espionage stuff is rather timely for my viewing habits. Reports on Operation Prepare Sleeper Cells are favorable so far. After considerable effort and numerous carefully concealed falsifications, we have managed to plant a number of operatives in low-level officer positions within the Zaco military. From there, they will be able to update us on the latest happenings in the Confederation of Zaco and maintain our long-term ability to conduct operations there, should we wish it. Okay, so excellent. We're not going to burn the Economist, so, but I can focus on another target. So there is a side of me that says it would be nice to get some eyes on, you know, my allies and rivals. I'm curious what it'll take to spy on the Tecarus link. Challenging. Okay, yeah, let's go for the low-hanging fruit first. Okay, well, looks like we're getting ready to make our move on the Stellar. A new species. Many of the Raxar inhabitants on Kat Nob have turned to genetic modification to help them cope with the planet's hostile environment. The changes they have made to themselves are being passed on to their offspring, and their physical appearance is changing at an alarming rate. They have started referring to themselves as Super Raxar.
Ships upgraded.
So let's see what we're up against here. Arid preference. Fair enough. Self-modified. Talented. Quick learners. Interesting. They're very different. We can convert them later, but right now this is actually working for me because of the... we've not yet been able to convert the world. About 200 days before that happens. Okay, so this would normally be available for the attack in the Kuiper system, but I just don't really think that's going to be happening. Are we really safe from the pirates here? Cool. Well, that worked a lot faster than I thought it would. I guess I'm getting the hang of this whole running an empire thing. Okay, so we're gonna start by moving into the system. Now, I believe one of my ships is a bit faster than the others, so we're gonna move this in 2 phases. Our operatives are drawing up a short list of potential sleeper cells within the Loxongrakva Royal States. They hope to find a set of suitable positions where agents may appear innocuous and yet may remain poised to strike for a prolonged period of time.
Liquidating foreign assets.
All right, well, I was kind of hoping we'd be a little more coordinated, but we're definitely losing a few corvettes off of this. Here we go. Stellar Devourer. The Stellar Devourer has been vanquished. Its remains curled up and evaporated, leaving only its digestive system and the stellar matter it contains. Our science team has urged us to examine the remains. Maybe there is some profound knowledge to be had from understanding its digestive system. So we can study the corpse or make it a trophy for all to see for 500 influence. I mean, man, that's actually a really tough one. So the trophy is a really cool improvement. But let's try studying the corpse.
Log updated.
I hate that I'm doing this. The star consumer has been slain, its body still radiating the energy from the star it last fed on. Studying it might reveal the secrets of how it's capable of digesting the warmest objects in the universe. So, I wrote down my science projects for this very reason. We can afford to lose the... I believe we can afford to lose the ship on Siluria. Let me just double check the numbers here. So, 56, yeah. We'll obviously send it back when we can. Okay, so the losses, destroyer and 6 corvettes. So we can start building that right away. Ooh, short one. So we're going to combine that with the Kugel Voidstalkers, but I'm still going to owe it 2 corvettes. Biggest thing right now is just getting our energy credits back into shape. Okay, so apparently I never solved the problem on Sidar. Looks like we've also got our next Ascension perk. So, Bulwark of Harmony. All organisms, no matter how perfect, must rely on an immune system to ward off the threat of outside disease. Our society is no different. While in a defensive war with another empire, ship build speed is increased by 33%. In addition, the ship fire rate is increased by 15% for ships within your borders. So we've now completed Unyielding. Adopting all Unyielding traditions will grant the following additional effects. Defense platforms cap 50%. Starbase upkeep minus 20%. That's a nice little bonus towards my my cash reserves. Grants access to the Martial Alliance Federation type, and we get another Ascension perk. Now, I have been struggling a little bit with deciding like what I want to do with some of these upgrades. So we more or less have everything that we need. And I will say, like, I'm not opposed to holding back on this, but I do kind of need to decide at some point, you know, am I going to actually pick a tech? So, you know, the flesh is weak would be kind of interesting. Mind over matter, maybe. Obviously, that would be a little more spiritual, but I World Shaper isn't quite as important for me because I already have the new Bale Seed. Otherwise, you know, the terraforming cost would be kind of nice. Galactic Force Projection, you know, if I want to throw my weight around even more. I have been leaving one Ascension perk available just so that I can do something like Defender of the Galaxy and such. But honestly, like, I kind of need to make some choices. Like, Mega Engineering is probably going to be the bigger factor in terms of whether I want to maybe pursue large projects or not. So for now, I'm just going to save it. I realize I'm holding myself back as far as Unity is concerned, but because I don't get to undo the Ascension choices. I don't want to make short-term. I don't want to do short-term choices that wind up costing me. So I owe them one more Corvette, and then I also need to throw a couple more Corvettes at the A Cause to Dance. Strange occurrences have been reported among the colonists on Hodranus Prime. Apparently, many individuals have taken to dancing on the streets for hours and even days on end, refusing to stop until they are physically restrained. So far, it has only affected a relatively small portion of the population, and our authorities have yet to establish a pattern. Monitor the situation. Okay. So we'll take 2 more Corvettes out of these guys. And we'll combine them with the Kugel Void Skulkers. Now again, I do want to build up my... Actually, I can already build a Titan, so we want to get on that as soon as I can. And again, the relative strength is...
Research complete.
The relative strength is still where it needs to be, so I still have about 3 years before I'm gonna attempt the conflict, but definitely a situation I want to keep my eye on. Studies of the Stellar Devourer's shining remains have left our scientists perplexed and amazed. The star-feasting being is itself a miniature fusion furnace, harvesting solar matter to synthesize an energy source of its own. Since the body still contains significant amounts of solar matter from the star and the Kuiper system, the one that it last fed from, it could be possible to extract the energy and reinvigorate the star. Harvesting the corpse's heat for our own ends could satisfy our energy needs in the short term, but it would doom the system to an eternal ice age. So we could harvest the energy deposits. 10,000 energy credits, which is definitely nice. 2,000 minerals is something we can use as well, and some influence. But I definitely think trying to reignite the star is a better long-term goal. So,
Log updated.
Back from whence it came. So here I'm doing Control-Shift to put that at the top of the queue, and then we can study the rest of the system. Obviously, I have higher priorities right now. Okay, I also need to worry about relocation, although I think... Yeah, here we go. New Bale Life Seeding. Our environmental specialists are pleased to report that the terraforming process on Ka-Tanab has completed. The planet has been successfully terraformed into a Gaia world. Owing to our deployment of laboratory-created plant hybrids containing carefully selected segments of the Bale genetic code, once again as a result of the process, itself not fully understood by our geneticists, a number of new Bale populations have appeared planetside, emerging when terraforming neared completion. Excellent, more slaves. So, particularly useful for the agriculture district. So this is going to be a little tedious, but I'm actually going to take a minute here and just see if there are any new Bale on my existing worlds, because they should all be moving to Ka-Tanab now. One of the things, the game will actually tell you, I think it will say how many planets the species are spread over, but unfortunately it doesn't say what planets it's on, so this winds up being a little bit of a hunt. Yeah, so technicians here, this is a great example of the sort of thing I want. I want to move over. Actually, maybe it's just better. Okay, yeah. So I don't think I'm going to have enough jobs, to be honest. I've got 6. This is a slightly better way of doing it, so... Okay. So basically, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not leaving. I don't want to like leave the existing worlds that I'm transferring the new bale off of. I don't want to leave them short on workers. I think it was Siluria. Okay, I'm obviously gonna have to deal with Siluria later, but we don't have anything as far as new bale are concerned. So. The main reason I'm doing this is just because New Bale are very good at farming. So if I can move them off of things like clerk jobs, I want to take the opportunity. This is weirding me out, how I seem to be, like, emptying out some of these other jobs. Okay. Please tell me I remembered to... Oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? Okay, please tell me I've at least got the new bale here. Yes. Okay, so I've just wasted a bunch of energy doing that, but that's life. Calsach. Okay, so I've got farmers here already, so... I should maybe take a second on Kelsoch and make sure that I'm not making new bale as well, but we'll worry about that later. I think we already did Kefroth, but doesn't hurt to double check. Okay, it doesn't really look like I have a whole lot to replace things with, but we'll take care of that on the next round. I mean, again, we're kind of doing a migration of New Bale to the role that they're best suited for. I don't see anything on Subra being important, but it doesn't hurt to check. I don't even remember where I'm at now. Okay, yeah, more New Bale clerks. Okay, so at this point I'm just taking clerks away from other planets, but you know what? Let's not mess with the order too much. We've got the farmers that we need on Katnab. We'll leave it be for now. So what we're going to do here on Siluria. So what interests me here is that it seems like Siluria has lots of expansion possibilities that haven't been explored yet. So first thing I want to do, it's a factory world, so we'll build another... Okay, well that answers that. There is an interesting question as to whether or not I want to give up some of those generator districts or mining districts, because this definitely feels like I'm trying to do sort of a little bit of everything on this. But I'm going to leave it be for now. So the Vengral will find employment, or will they? No, because those are specialized jobs. So who needs workers? Apparently Hodranus? And Hodranus is not... Did I terraform the wrong world? I think I did. I didn't realize I had more than one... Oh yeah, that's right. I did have more than one. Alright, well it looks like the Super Raxar are gonna... Wait, this is the one with the Super Raxar, right? Nope, just normal Raxar. Okay. Well, screw you, Hudrana. You're gonna have to get used to it. I think no, yeah, this is the one with the bosses. Okay. I think we're in decent enough shape. I'm probably going to need to figure out what I'm doing with the rest of these worlds, but that's something I can take care of later. Also, I think I said I wanted to just make sure... Let's just do this for all the worlds. Let's just make sure that we've got Raxar being born with some possible exceptions on the mining world. Actually, yeah, I should find the mining world because Azazian's... Oh, Jesus. Raxar, please. Yeah, so at some point, I'm not going to do this now because I've been on pause for so long, but I think at some point I probably want to switch these guys out for Azazians if I can, because they're just so much better at picking up heavy things and putting them down again. Through hard work and experience, scientist Durbaxa has developed new skills. The Dancing Plague. The isolated incidents of spontaneous prolonged dancing on Hodranus Prime have escalated somewhat, and groups of hundreds of Raxai are now compulsively dancing in a variety of different styles. Surprisingly, even those who have never shown much interest in dancing are suddenly able to perform expert moves, and the old among them have rediscovered the vigor of their youth. Although many residents are jokingly referring to it as the Dancing Plague, it is no joking matter. The dancers show no concern for their bodily needs and risk dancing themselves to death. This is not natural. They must find out what's afflicting them, or start the music. It's party time. Yeah,
Log updated.
We're gonna find out what the deal is here.
Research complete.
Dancing Plague pathogen isolated. Our researchers have succeeded in isolating the cause of the dancing incidents on Hodranus Prime. It appears that the culprit is a gas released by the local vegetation. The gas induces feelings of exhilaration and an irresistible urge to dance, while suppressing fatigue. It seems to be fairly benign, however, as the colonists' self-preservation instincts prevent them from literally dancing themselves to death. Furthermore, our scientists have developed a synthetic gas that, once released into the air, will neutralize the effects of the dancing gas. Local entrepreneurs suggest that we preserve the unique character of the colony by allowing the gas free reign in certain areas, providing a safe space for young and old alike to experience the eternal party of Hodranus Prime. Others point out that the gas has certain valuable properties that we can make use of, and we can extract it from the plants before it gets released into the air. So the show must go on. Max gas extraction wells 1 and a bonus to the growth speed, or let us exploit these gases to the full, and we get 2 extraction wells as well as Unity. As much as I like Party Fever, we have other ways of getting growth speed, so let's exploit these gases to the full, and we will put those mines down as quickly as we can, because we definitely need the gases for future science buildings. Okay, we're doing okay for consumer goods, so let's draw down our requests. We're also doing
construction
a
complete.
pretty good business of food, so let's see if we can get another deal with our allies. So right now, so it's 160 for 90. Wait a minute, let me just double check that. I think I did the math wrong on this. Nope, we're getting 160 energy credits for 90 food. Okay, so we're getting 177. Let's say we're willing to give him 220 right now. So that's 162. That's a slightly worse deal than we had before, but that's still a pretty respectable return for something that we're really not getting any advantage from. So let's roll with it.
Research complete. We did it.
Stellar Devourer. The project is paid off, but at a cost. Submerging the Stellar Devourer's remains into Kuiper's star has caused the solar furnace to shine a bit brighter, but also to spew out solar flares that engulfed the ISS Irid Gur 14 and its crew in a roaring inferno. There were no survivors. The planets in the system are heating up, reaching temperature levels closer to their original form. So, sad story for the ship, but we do have a replacement on Dolok. I'm not going to build another one. I think we're overweight on ships right now. I'm pretty sure this is the one. Nope, that's the one on Kefroth. Where's Dolok? Well, that's what I get for trying to be clever. Let's survey the system and see if we can make some money. Changes in the planet classes of all planets within the Kuiper system. Kuiper 3 becomes a tundra planet. So it will be a chance for me to colonize, but obviously in this case... Ooh. So obviously in this case, I have got more terraforming jobs than I can really handle. So the United Zakplot Confederacy is embroiled in a civil war, pitting the organic Zakplot government against the intelligence that metastasized in their systems, known as the Omnisequence. Let us see how this plays out. I suspect they will not win. Okay, the Nar consciousness. A synaptic collaboration has evaluated your suggestion. We find it sound, so we are in the money again. Our spy master in the Loxongrak-Val Royal States, Vodaburn, reports a drastic failure in his process for screening operatives. Word from the Loxongrak-Van capital is that a fixer has chosen to defect. Despite the fact that we are supposed to be able to screen out such disloyalty, the fixer has been turned, either by an act of counter-espionage or some innate sympathy towards the Loxongrak-Val Royal States, which we were unable to detect before. Get your house in order! So we should have enough alloys to build that Titan now. it's going to be a long road for us to get the new fleet, but it's at the very least worth building the Titans early. Otherwise, you're waiting forever to get that done. A list of targets has been finalized, and our operatives have been quietly drifting their way into position. They await the signal to begin establishing sleeper cells. So we still have 100 espionage, which is good. And I want to go back to sort of surveying my defensive buildings. So I feel like this... Oh my god, yeah, this starbase... We are definitely going to need to have a conversation about this one. Right, I think Julao was one of those too hard to think about ones. Okay, so clearly I didn't have enough defensive platforms on this one. I do have the ion cannon though, right? Well, we're building it. Sleeper cells established. Reports from Operation Prepare Sleeper Cells are favorable so far. An influx of mysterious, untraceable credits has allowed our operatives the financial clout and falsified references necessary to walk into mid-level positions in many of the leading Lox-Angrak-Van corporations. From there, they will be able to update us on the latest happenings in Lox-Angrak-Va Royal States and maintain our long-term ability to conduct operations there should we wish it. Excellent. So, under normal circumstances, I'd probably be trying the Nar Consciousness or the Techerus link at this point, but because we do have the danger of a conflict with this Federation, I actually want to make sure that I've got eyes on basically all of the members. So the Cosmic Treaty Organization as the Confederation of Zako, we've got eyes on them. I believe we are currently in the Kingdom of Conoramus, and the Zakplot People's Unit, I don't recall... Okay, so we do not have a spy there yet. And I think we should probably start acquiring some assets before... Yeah, we'll stick around for a bit. We've got natural improvements that we can earn. So I'm going to be waiting a while on these alloys, I think. I mean, I do have the option of... Oh god, these prices are so good. But that's it for my purchases for a little while. I'm gonna take another bite. I do need to be a bit careful I don't fall out of compliance when it comes to the fleet cap. But what I'm trying to do is take care of a bunch of fixed costs first. Oh man, I really overdid it on defense platforms.
Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
Sorry, one second. Instruments across the Natraxian the Natraxian Rum Runners have suddenly picked up a subspace power surge of massive proportions coming from somewhere within our galaxy. Our scientists are struggling to come up with an explanation for this event. Nothing of its like has ever been recorded. The exact origin point of this sudden power surge has yet to be identified, but we are still in the process of analyzing the available data. Keep at it. And we got the robot modification points. Improved production practices allow for fundamental changes to synthetic workers without compromising core functionality. I'm very tempted to go for the Juggernaut. But the Habitat Ward is the better option. Or, sorry, Habitat World is the better option because that will allow me to upgrade my bases. Now, there's a couple of other things I want to work on, which is I'm getting close to my influence cap, so I should be embiggening more worlds. And in addition, I should be keeping an eye on... So we've already done our science. So for the species, we have some Super Raxar, which I actually want to turn back to regular Raxar. Or do I? I mean, I guess it's not... It's not terrible, actually. We could... Maybe we just leave it. So if I were to try and take advantage of these skills, I think we give them... So if I go for the basics that they already have, we've got Thrifty, which isn't currently there. Let's make them traditional.
Log updated.
See if that can give us a little bit of kind of a shot in the arm for the economy. Looks like... Okay, looks like the council has decided to keep membership fairly exclusive.
Planetary exploitation forecast complete.
Definitely support research sanctions. Uh-oh. Oh, Jesus. We're at the end game. Wow. Okay. So much for my war on the Loxongrak-Va Royal States. The source of the massive power surge we detected earlier has been identified. It comes from some kind of gigantic subspace tear in the Gathrika system. Fleets of strange spacecraft are pouring out of this dimensional portal, and early reports speak of indiscriminate attacks against everyone coming into contact with them. We have intercepted a powerful signal being sent from the arriving vessels to somewhere on the other side of the portal. It sounds like a hunting call. This'll cut into our profit margins.
Log updated.
Feeding ground reached, prey bountiful. At long last we shall feast. What are these things? Well, there's a reason we held back. Defender of the galaxy. As star nations vie with one another in petty dispute, sinister forces of unimaginable power are arraying themselves against all sapient life. Who will protect us? Can I declare myself the... There is an option to declare a crisis and make myself the... Oh, cool. We've got intermediate support to make me a... Oh, yeah. Nominate the Custodian. Intermediate support. The Techerus, Link, Narcon... This is intermediate support? This is everybody? Alright. The time has come for us to embrace our destiny.
Construction complete.
Now would also not be a bad time for me to start building those defensive turrets. Well, actually, fleets would probably be more useful, but I don't know. There's definitely something to be said for kind of battening down the hatches. So let's. So I'm going to roll back on the minerals because we're clearly doing okay there. I'm not crazy about driving up the price like this, but... or sorry, buying after I've driven up the price like this, but... say 10... That's a lot. I'm not going to be able to afford that. We'll start with 30. We'll see where it goes. And actually, the other thing I can do in the Senate... Well, we got to wait for after the... Oh yeah, actually no. The Senate will naturally...
Species status elevated.
So I'm just waiting to see where the Unbidden are going to show up. I actually don't recall. I think the last time I ran into the Unbidden, it was over so quickly. There was no... Wait a minute. Yeah, I don't think I actually got to see how it... Oh, there they are. This may be an incredibly foolish move, but I am going to send the entire fleet to Gatherka to see if we can put an end to this sooner rather than later. Loxon Grekva Royal States has declared the Tecarus Link their rival. All right, well, that's an interesting, interesting decision. No, everybody's buying alloys for the upcoming fight. So yeah, my real hope was to try and vassalize someone before we got to an end game event, but let's see if we can make it work out. Through hard work and experience, Boss Tolixir has developed new skills. Okay. In this case, I'm just going to keep plugging away at defensive platforms until we have the maximum. It's definitely going to take us a while, but it's what I've got.
Construction complete.
Okay. I had a list of worlds that this was going to do research on, so back to Dolok. Oh, crap.
Boom. We built something.
I mean, obviously, I'm opening myself up to a pretty big risk here if these things start showing up in my territory. It doesn't really matter if I've got defensive stations built up. Tech Link can now use imposed inclusion and existential expulsion. Jesus.
Boom. We built something.
The extra dimensional. Holy smokes. Okay. Oh God! Run for your lives! Oh, this is so bad. Okay. We're just gonna have to write that off. 201k? Oh, Jesus. Oh, jeez. How do I get to Gathrika now? I was kind of hoping to strangle that thing in, you know, at its origins. Okay. We'll hit the retreat button as soon as we possibly can.
Discovered. Rad.
Oh, gee. Oh, man. 13 destroyers, 32 corvettes, 4 cruisers, a Titan, and 4 battleships in a matter of days. Oh, Lord. Okay. Am I going to have to suffer another humiliating defeat? It's looking like it. Okay, I'm going to put down the note. Okay, so we're going to stop building defensive platforms for a bit. And yeah, so all of that effort that I put into building up defensive platforms, like, these things are just going to go swimming right through them. Oh, good God. What do we do about... Well, I guess the time has come to boost the command limit. We're gonna need quite a few more ships. First thing I'm gonna do is get up to 2,000 alloys. Yeah, so right after I completely hobbled one of the powers in the galaxy, you know, I'm at the point here where I would have vassalized them. But if I decide to do so now, I redirect efforts from sort of an existential threat to the galaxy. This could not have possibly been worse timing. New developments in tech cooling regularly surface, improving the stability and efficiency of our weapon systems, keeping them from blowing up the ships on which they are mounted. So it looks like these are upgrades, which is good for me to know. And I'm just going to let the AI decide what's best here. So let's get some upgrades in. Alien megastructure. Word has reached us that the Mirovandia Imperial Sons have begun the construction of a vast long-range sensor array in the Majek system. While still in its early stages, the completed array is set to give them unfettered insight into interstellar travel in this galaxy. Yeah, so my big strong ally is getting completely chewed up by the Hey, Irrepressible, how you doing? I'm curious where the name Chalky came from. So I'm trying to decide if this is worth turning into an emergency measure. Well, I guess I just did. Whoa, who's against that? Tecarus, go screw yourselves.
Incoming transmission.
The Mirovania Imperial Sons would like to establish an embassy. We aim to establish an embassy on Kirix's private stash for the future benefit of Mirovandian, the boys' diplomacy. I agree. I see. Okay, so we've got enough to build a Titan, which I'm sure will be a nice little gift for the the unbidden to chew up. Played by the late Michael Kenneth Williams. Oh yeah. I definitely know who that is. Also Irish for those of you who like Battlefield, but it's I don't know. Battlefield feels a little bit less exalted than The Wire and Boardwalk Empire. And then I think he also played the dad in Lovecraft Country. We no longer see any reason to keep you locked out of our territory. Our borders are open to you again. But yeah, actually, so here's a question for you, Irrepressible. Did you know that the real person who is the inspiration for Omar Little is actually in The Wire? I don't know how widely known this is. Oops. Okay, Caster, let's see where we can send. Yeah, so Keltsoch, it looks like they really need specialists. Gonna have to think about that a little bit. You did not know that. I am evidently behind her, David Simon Lord. Yeah, so you'll probably remember this scene. So it's a scene where Omar is basically, he's sent to prison. And there are these two... It is not Idris Elba. No. So, like, the thing is, like, as soon as you know this fact, you're going to be like, oh yeah, of course it's totally that guy. So there's a scene where he winds up in prison. And Butchie sends two... Apologies to those of you who've not seen The Wire. I realize it's really tedious to hear people, like, say character names. But if I say who the character is, it's going to mean nothing else for you. Yeah, Butchie sends a couple of people to protect him. You know, there's that scene where, like, you know, they wrap him up with phone books and stuff like that. And, like, one of the big guys, he's eventually shot in, you know, in one of the later sequences. He is apparently the actual person who is the inspiration for the Omar Little character. And, like, when you look at him, he absolutely looks like a big, rough guy. Like, you know, no disrespect to Michael K. Williams, but, like, he's obviously, like, a good-looking guy. Like, he's a movie star, right? Like, he's not necessarily the sort of person who you would see as the kind of guy in the real world who would, like, rob drug dealers. But if you look at that scene again and you look at the guy, it's like, yeah, that is probably the guy who, you know, made a living robbing some really bad people. So I thought that was really interesting. I did not know. I'm actually trying to remember where I first found that out, but there is your little bit of Wire lore. I'd share the moment on stream, but I know it kind of feels like anything you do is going to wind up, it's going to wind up. Hang on, did I really? Oh, right, because I just don't have access to it. Anything's potentially going to set off a potential copyright strike. So I leave it to your. I'm going to leave it to your Google skills. Okay. What am I gonna do? Uh-oh. Okay, that's probably not that surprising. Actually don't have that many Raxar in this world, so there's an easy thing that I can do. You're telling me that you don't have unemployment problems now. Yeah, I really don't know how I feel about this, but... Oh god, they're still unemployed? So what gives? Probably losing a bunch of resources doing this, but yeah, I don't know what I thought I was going to accomplish doing that. Okay. I'll put the planetary administration at the top. Hopefully that'll find some employment for the rulers sooner than later. I basically just need more bodies on this world, to be completely honest, but... Demise of the Shard Dragon. Our foe has fallen at the hands of the Nar consciousness. The Rubricator relic she guarded has thereby been lost to us. Although the threat of the old dragon has been removed, it seems difficult to rejoice at this conclusion. So I actually thought I would only get the Rubricator if we took the world. That's interesting to know. So, the Nar consciousness has vanquished an ancient threat in the distant Star Mag system. Very good use for their navy. I cannot think of anything else that they would be worried about right now. Okay, election. Who wants the job of leading the boys against a ridiculously overpowered foe? We will abstain. We've elected Axamact, previously governor on Zygar 6, to become the next ruler. They give extra experience gain. I'm just going to take a quick second here to make sure that I've got governors on all my worlds. I guess this is the frontier sector, so I won't have any there, but...
We really push the envelope on these ships.
Okay. One thing I would like to do is get a little intelligence on what kind of damage the Unbidden do. So that was a missed opportunity for me. I was so torn up about losing that fleet that I didn't take the opportunity to learn what I was up against. So I'm not exactly ready to throw another fleet at them. What I'm gonna try and do, though, I'm gonna see if there's a possibility of sneaking around the side and heading straight into Gathrika, either through the Loxon Grakva Royal States or through other means. And for the time being, I think I'm gonna stick in terminal egress. I'm not sure if that's quite the smartest choice, but The end of the Savanti free warriors. The once proud nomadic warriors, warrior culture of the Savanti is no more. Forces from the Nar consciousness have destroyed the last of the massive space stations that house the majority of their population. Refugees from the surviving civilian population have scattered across the galaxy. Although some Savanti pirate and mercenary fleets may be unaccounted for, the loss of their space dwellings is a devastating blow that they cannot recover from. This puts a definite end to their raiding. So, I mean, just as well we don't have the Great Khan coming up, I guess. So this would have been the time that I would have offered subsidiary status. They wouldn't have accepted it, but they are weaker than me. But again, I've got other priorities right now.
We really push the envelope on these ships. Station under attack.
Uh-oh. Ooh. Wow. We are really not ready for this. I mean, we'll make our stand here, but holy crap. The terminal egress has suddenly become a... No! What are you doing? Fight them at the base! You guys have no sense of self-preservation. I don't think we have enough alloys to be able to stop this. My God. Oh, this is horrible. God. There's definitely no way I was getting out of there. Okay. So I'm basically going to record every detail I have about this battle because I need to figure out what the deal is. Okay, so definitely looks like physical weapons are the most efficient. Damaged hull, damage to shields. So presumably they just don't have any armor, I think is the idea here. So our damage efficiency is alright. So I guess the other thing we would do would be to find things that bypass shields, I suppose. Okay, so their damage output, large matter disintegrators. Okay, so definitely good against armor and not so good against shields. So probably what we want to do is redesign for heavy shields. Hull is hull, right? Okay, so I may actually have an extended pause on this one. So what I'm probably gonna do with this playthrough, like assuming that I'm able to rebuild my navy, because we just lost a lot here. But what I can do is I can build sort of a replacement force. And there's a few ways that I want to think about this. So the other thing, like their hit ratios are not that great. So like there's one argument here, which is if they're struggling so much to hit with their large weapons, like maybe what I do is I just swarm them with a completely preposterous number of corvettes here. Actually, let me just say... Okay, so like, so small ships are better able to evade. So I mean, obviously there's like 34 escorts. I'm going to need to think about how I do damage and things like that. But here are the main things that I'm taking away from this particular battle. They're energy focused, both in terms of defensive systems, as well as attacks. So essentially, whenever they try to attack me with my shields are going to be more effective than my armor is going to be at defending myself. So this is going to have some implications in terms of ship design, and this is this is something that I kind of want to learn in general. And this is probably going to be the time that I learn it. Now, the drawback is that, we're going to lose the terminal egress, and so there's probably a lot of stuff that we're going to wind up losing as a result of this, and it may be too late for me to recover, depending on where they go. But here's how I'm going to be thinking about how to handle the enemy. So let's just do a corvette as an example. So one thing that I'm going to need to sort of sort out for myself is, do I go for, a missile boat, an interceptor, or a picket ship? So I think picket ships, it's pretty fair to say. So like, first of all, for utility slots, everything's the same. So this is a question in terms of like weapon loadout. So the question is, do I go for the S and G? Do I go for the S? Do I go for the P and the S? Or sorry, 1S, 1G, 3S, 1P, 2S. So I'm not going to go for a picket ship simply because that's going to give me the ability to shoot down missiles, right? That's going to give me the kinetic barriers, and it seems to me like they are not attacking me with... it seems to me like they're not attacking me with small ships. Like the escort's the smallest ship. It's not like I've got swarms of fighters coming after me here. So the first decision that I'm going to wind up making would be, okay, so if I'm not worrying about shooting down missiles, if I'm not worrying about shooting down fighters, then the question is, do interceptors or missile boats give me a better opportunity to do damage to them? So the question here would be, well, I actually don't know what G stands for in this. I'm sure we can find out, maybe. So what's interesting here, right, is 100% shield penetration, 25% hull damage. So what have we got? 140. It gives us like an average damage. So 1470, 1065. Okay, so these take a longer time to fire. Then we've got the Devastator torpedo, 1706. This is definitely the highest average damage. Takes a long time to reload. But the okay, so here's another factor that I want to keep in mind. We've got so each of these have 100% shield penetration. That's fantastic. That is something I absolutely want to keep in mind when going up against these Marauders. What I do need to think about now, though, is that if I've got that 100% shield penetration, is it better for me to get the... So the 50% armor damage doesn't really mean that much, right? I've got this average damage of 1706. Or do I take the extra 25% hull damage? And then, of course, there's that factor that it's, you know, it's a faster rate. So, I mean, you've got your averages and so on. Like, so actually, here's maybe one thing to keep in mind. The explosive damage here is 275 to 445. It's also got a very large cooldown. So the thing to remember about the average damage here is that generally what you're going to see, you're going to be able to rely on that average damage number for the weapons that have a faster fire rate. Because the thing is that if over the course of one encounter, you're only firing that thing 3 times, right? You've got 3 draws from a range from 275 to 445. That's going to be all over the map, right? It'd actually been kind of an interesting experiment to sort of run a few tests to sort of see what the draws look like. Actually, we've got random.org. So, where is it? There we go. So of course I'm allowing for I have to allow for the possibility that this one's going to actually be the right number here. I'll just open Excel in the other window here. Okay, so in this case here we wound up with 426, 314, and 285. So the average damage on that was 341.6. I guess I should have... I need to get the fire rate for that as well. 2110. Sorry, this is probably taking longer than it should, but... So yeah, in this particular case here, the average damage wound up being 1619. So tell you what, I'll draw, I'll draw a few more of these just for the sake of science. We'll do 2 more. Oh wow, that's actually really similar. So that one wound up being 1680, so that's a bit closer to the real number. And then 439, 340, 287. And that wound up being 1684. So like in this case here, again, this is only, let's just say we get to fire 3 of these things over the course of a battle. Okay, yeah, no, sorry. I'm playing around a little bit with the measures here, but the point still stands. So yeah, I said like this is just kind of out of nowhere. This is just kind of assigning a random value to the battle, but we're just saying we've got enough time to fire the missiles 3 times. So in this particular case here, it takes us 2110 to fire a missile. So we're basically saying that the battle is 63.3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to compare that to the Marauder missile. So in this case here, I'm just going to tab back to the value. So in this case, we've got It's a... Is that a 6.8? Sorry, the font's really small when I look at the screen here. Yeah, 6.8. So in the same period of time, we get to... It's 9.3, so I'm going to round this... I'm going to round this off to 9. Oop. So this time we draw 9, and that's going to be from 86 to 114. So get the numbers. I'm kind of stupidly typing this in by hand. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see the numbers. Kind of stupidly typing this in by hand, but I'll just do a draw 3 times. So 91, 92, 3, 91, 107, 102, 113, 106, 112. So we go to our second battle. Oh, that's not good. 96, 105, 103, 104, 101, 90, 90, 94, 91. Probably could have just done these random draws in Excel itself, but that's not quite as interactive then. 3, 107, 113, 103, 107, 86, 89, 96. Okay. And I think I said it was 6.8. Okay. So, what did the game say that average was? 14.7, and the 3 experiments I did, 14.8, 14.28, and 14.55. So in this case, it was also a little bit lower, but you're noticing here, like, it's fractional amounts compared to here, where you're sort of building an expectation of 17, and we never even got, like, the closest we got was still about 0.2 off, which again is not huge, but there you have it. There is another factor that I want to keep in mind here. So, like, basically, I guess the one thing I'm trying to say is that if you count on, if you're trying to count on the average damage, generally you are going to get an experience closer to the average damage with a faster firing weapon. But to be honest, like, you gotta normalize somehow, right? Like, in the end, it's still fair to say that Devastator torpedoes are considerably more powerful than Marauder missiles. The only thing you want to keep in mind is if you think your missile boats are going to get blown up pretty quickly, you maybe want them to fire as much of their ordnance as they can before they go under. But there is another consideration here, which is that we know if it's 100% shield penetration and 25% hull damage, well, there's no armor. So unlike the Devastator torpedoes, which are going to do just their straight 275, 445, the 1470 actually gets a 25% bonus. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not smart enough to do that in my head right now. So let's say 14.7. So that actually turns out to be 18.375, which means that just by the pure average numbers, the Marauder missiles are actually more suitable against the Unbidden. So if I want to go for a missile boat, this is the Marauder missiles are basically designed for the type of enemy that I'm going up against. Then we would turn our attention to the to the small weapon. Now, it's pretty clear that we're not going to be using the gamma laser. These things are packing a bunch of shields. Our least effective weapon was anything beam oriented. Sorry, I've got too many windows up right now. So we're just taking that straight off the list. Same story with the plasma cannon. So the plasma cannon, if we can wear down their shields, is absolutely devastating to the hull, right? A plus 50% to the damage is great. But these things have shields. They're very good with their shields. So we definitely don't want to be messing with that. Now, there is a bit of an argument here that the phase disruptor might be something we want to consider because it's got full shield and armor penetration. And the question just becomes, okay, so the average damage is not that exciting, right? It's 25.54, but we know that we're going to be getting through their shields all the time. So is there another way that we can, we can maybe make this work a little bit better? But again, I think the real answer here is that, well, if we're going up against the shields, we can rip them down a lot faster if we do the Gauss cannon. In this case, it's not just 652. The 652 is what we do to the hull as opposed to the shield. And again, there's the question, well, how long does it take you to wear down the shields, et cetera, et cetera. The other alternative is the Stormfire autocannon, which pretty much seems to be designed for the situation we find ourselves in right now. Not only is it a 50% to the shield damage, but it's 25 to the hull damage. And what have we got here? Cooldown 345, 230. So, okay, so the Stormfire autocannon is clearly the weapon that we want. Clearly the weapon that we want to work with. So, there is, I guess, one more question for the little guy. So let's just say we put a Stormfire on and we grab a Marauder missile. Now, I'm not going to be building all of my fleets on stream tonight. I just want to give you a thought in terms of saying, it's like, okay, so now that I've got some information about my enemy, here is how I'm thinking about this particular problem. We know that if they're up against our armor, we're dead. So what we want to be doing is we want to be putting as much as we can into being able to... we basically want to be able to dodge or have strong shields. So there's actually there's a few different arguments for all of these, right? So, hull regen is nice. Let's just acknowledge that these ships are coming back on their shield. They're coming back with their shield or on it. Advanced Afterburners, evasion's good. Definitely evasion was something that served us in the previous battles, so that might be something we want to consider. In fact, one drawback here is that evasion becomes quite difficult to quantify in terms of the overall protection level. So I could put the Advanced Afterburners in here. It still says 90%, and then obviously there's going to be some comparison against what the AI does. Reactor booster. That's just power generation, so I think we'll probably be able to go without. Chance to hit, 5%. I mean, not bad, but I think we gave a pretty respectable performance on to hit. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that. So one of the reasons why I want to spend some time talking about this is that this has actually come up in a couple of streams as well. So this is kind of the first time I've really been digging into the ship designer to think about the particular enemy that I'm up against. And again, it might be too late. I may not be able to rebuild my fleet, but at least the next time I see the Unbidden, I'm going to be able to redesign my fleet. So shield capacitor, 10% to shield hit points. So probably what's going to determine this is how much I can put in these small systems, right? So neutronium armor hit points, useless. Crystal infused plating, well, it helps with the hull points. That's not so bad. But I believe that is an armor, isn't it? Maybe it's not. Well, let's think about defensibility. So with hyper shields, and this is probably going to be true. Oh, wow. I'm not allowed to make a ship with negative power, right? Oh, that's ugly. Okay, well, I think we've got our answer in terms of... So obviously it would have been nice to put a capacitor in, but... Okay. So basically what we wind up with this configuration would be 145 points in shields, 300 in armor, and then we have to basically give up the the reactor booster. We give up the ability to do special stuff. Okay, so what's my alternative? Actually, sorry, let me just double check that I got those numbers right. 435. Wait, what? Oh yes, 145 times 3. What on earth am I thinking? Okay. So we've got 435 on shields. And we have 300 in hull. Now, the thing that we need to remember about this configuration is their effectiveness on shields is half. So that means that basically any shield value I have gets doubled. That becomes kind of important when I'm making decisions like... what do I put here? So like if I could put a shield capacitor down, this would be amazing, right? The alternative would be, okay, so we'll try and balance, we'll put the shields in. I can't put a second one in. So let's say we put crystal-infused plating as an alternative. And we can say, okay, let's just say evasion doesn't do anything. Obviously it does, but so we'll put down a shield capacitor instead. Okay, so now we get 159 for shields and 520 for hull points. Well, the hull points are nice, but with 159 for shields, if we double that, we're not even remotely close to the extra, 200 or 220 that we're getting from the armor. And then of course we're having to spend crystals on this sort of stuff. So it seemed to me that if I'm doing sort of a defensive configuration, the way that I would want to build these for the Unbidden would be loaded up with hyper shields. Acknowledge that, we just need to put the advanced reactor booster in. The good news is when you have a surplus of power, I believe that goes to both weapon damage as well as... What was it? I definitely know there's bonuses that you get for like damage and stuff. Yeah, excess power 1%. Now the thing is, again, this average number doesn't actually quite communicate the power that this ship has. So let me just take a second here. Normally I'd just be sitting with an Excel spreadsheet and working this all out for myself, but let me actually go into the calculation for this. So the Marauder missile is 14.7 of this average amount, and the Stormfire autocannon is 757. So the Stormfire autocannon gets plus 25 to hull, and plus 50 to shield. And of course, the missile bypasses shields entirely, so that gets a plus 25 to hull. So, okay, actually, this is kind of already telling me... This is already telling me quite a bit. So, when this thing is attacked... So, like, I guess the thing to remember is... 14.7% of this is going straight into the body of the ship. 7.57 needs to penetrate the shields, and then it'll then sort of take them down. So I guess there's a question in, well, how long does it take to put the shields down? How many missiles can you fire before you get taken out, etc., etc. I guess basically what you'd probably want to do here is take 7.57, add 50% if you're saying this is going up against shields, but again, the majority of this damage amount is not actually affecting the shields, it's going straight to the hull. So, now we look at the alternative. So let's just say, 2257, because in the end, the balance of the advantage is going to be for the Interceptor class, because that's going to get that bonus against shield. So we'll take 3 Stormfire autocannons, again, basically something designed for the Unbidden. Let's see what we can do with the shields again. So if I, again, want to give up protection, I would... Yeah, I mean, this probably makes sense here. So in this case, this thing does 2296. So slightly more damage, but again, it has to penetrate the shields in order to get there. Also, this is a much closer range weapon. So we maybe also want to keep in mind the fact that some of these things are going to get shot down before they can ever fire a weapon. So 2296, which needs to go through a shield, or we get... sorry, rebuilding. $2257, most of which gets to penetrate the shields. In this case, it would seem to me a swarm of missile boats is probably the way to go, at least on paper. So then there's the whole question is like, well, you know, sometimes the missiles can get shot down by the enemy ships. So are you actually going to be able to penetrate the, you know, the enemy unit with that? And like, I don't know. That's the big question. I've never actually tried to sort of game out the different, you know, the different designs that I can work with. I have hit the 3-hour mark, but is there, I guess, I'm hesitant to ask this. I might just crash into the, you know, what would I do with a big ship question, but like, does anybody want to see how I'd think about this, like moving on? I'm not going to do all the ships for sure, but like, is there any benefit to me talking about this any further on a different class? Because like, obviously the small ships are the easy ones. If I'm, you know, looking at something like a battleship, I've got multiple sections to account for, which makes life a little more difficult. Sure? Okay. So where I'd probably start here would just be the X-class weapon, because like it's definitely cool to have something like the Giga Cannon, right? So one question might be, it's like, okay, well, what if we just like, oh, I'm not allowed to put multiple Giga Cannons. One can dream. So like this is a pretty easy. Oh, actually, is it an easy one? Maybe the arc emitter's the better call. So the Giga Cannon does 145, but it needs to go through it needs to go through the shields. The focused arc emitter is 100% shield penetration, does 105. Or we've got the Tachyon Lance, which is terrible against shields. So yeah, I guess we return to the old question about the Giga Cannon, which is it better for us to purely penetrate shields? Or, you know, and accept a little bit less damage. I mean, the other thing about the focused arc emitter is it's 1 to 1700 damage. This thing is just a complete roll of the dice. Whereas the Giga Cannon, you kind of know you've got some baseline. Although, admittedly, like 900 to 2600 is still a very wide range. But yeah, so spinal mounts, we'd have to pick between the focused arc emitter or the Giga Cannon. I also suspect that probably the arc emitter has a higher power draw, which might have some considerations. Nope, they're both 250. Okay. The one thing I'm definitely not going to put on... Oh, actually, that's not true, because... Oh, no, that is true. I was thinking that the hangar might mean that we put out ships, but that's not actually what's happening. So on the artillery side, I think we face kind of a very similar kind of decision to what we had before. Now, unfortunately, it seems like I underinvested in my large kinetic batteries. It looks like we're only level 1 on these. So in this case, there is something of a strong argument for the neutron launchers. Oh no, hang on. These are terrible against shields. So yeah, we would actually want to do the Gauss cannon. Ooh, that's grim. No, even in its weaker state, the kinetic battery is the right call here. So then our alternative would be the broads. Actually, you know what? Just out of curiosity. So the way that I probably want to manage this one is just to look at it component by component. So with that in mind, right now the artillery gives us 75.46. Now it does need to go through shields, but it's 100% shield damage. And it's 25 hull. So again, if I could, Marauder missiles might be the sort of thing I would think about, but we don't have that as an option right now. So this is definitely what I would go for if we had to, you know, if we had to work with. Oh wow, actually, this seems to do quite a bit more damage than I was expecting. Why is that? 3913 versus 3550. Okay, no, I'm not accounting for the numbers properly. But again, like the thing is that 50% shield damage versus 100% versus shields, 25% versus hull. Yeah, even at 10%, this is going to be better against the Unbidden. Okay, so that's artillery accounted for. Spinal mount, let's just say, again, I'm actually really reluctant to think about the spinal mount. So like, let's say, okay, spinal mount is 111.94. I mean, again, it is really tempting because of the potential damage like directly to the hull, but I don't know. Seems like a really big gamble. So then the last one would be the broadside bow. Now, this is a little bit of a... Like, this is kind of anything goes, really. We could try the phase disruptor, so 622 for the shield and armor penetration versus 1630. So, again, this is kind of hitting straight at the hull. So I suppose if we wanted to go here, we can sort of say 1219 of this is going straight to the hull. Alternatively, we're trying to penetrate the shields, at which point we do 6925. I guess the big problem that I have with this configuration is that most of this damage is being done as 50% shield damage, and then it's just doing it straight value to the hull. Whereas, you know, the kinetic battery is getting a bonus towards hull. So not only are we stripping down that armor reasonably quickly, but we're... Actually, you know what? There's another number I might be able to get out of the report that might be useful. Does it actually say the amount of damage? Yeah, this is actually a harder one to read. So I was thinking it's like, there might be a way that I could try and get... oh wait, this is their damage to shield. So I was just thinking, like, as a proportion of damage that we did, how much was to shields, how much was to hull. So it's like 261,473 to hull. It was 446,257 to shields. It's like, well, does that mean they have like twice as much in terms of shields compared to hull? Well, no, that's just communicating how much we did to... That's just communicating how much we did to them. We might have had a whole bunch of spread damage to all of the shields, but in the end, we only actually wound up penetrating a certain number of them. And as a result, we, you know, that's the damage that got done to the hull. So I don't think there's anything reasonable I can pull out of these particular numbers. Anyways, back to ship design. So, as a whole, I would say either the spinal mount or the artillery are probably the two that I would choose here, and this is largely just due to the strength of the kinetic battery. And I would really need to sort of sit down and have a think, because like basically what it kind of comes down to here is like, if we go with the spinal mount, let's say we've got the focused arc emitter. So 2 hits from the focused arc emitter. So if we've got like 16 seconds in a battle, at 1700, 2 of those hits are going to take out a battleship. That's fantastic. That's also the absolute best possible outcome for this particular weapon. And to a certain extent, we know that we're not just targeting large vessels. We're also targeting small ones. And so, you know, something that has more attempts at hitting... okay, well, this guy's got 100% accuracy. But I mean, again, like the damage efficiency still isn't that good, because if you're getting a 1700 hit on like the smallest ship that they've got in their fleet, you kind of wasted a bunch of effort there. So I'm mildly inclined towards the artillery bow. So again, the way I tend to find it helpful is to sort of break these out by components. So there may be some kind of like synergy between the different components, but I need to, like, to me, I at least just need to make some sense of each of the individual ones, and then I can say, okay, if I have these 2 things working in concert, this makes a whole lot more sense. What I tend to find is just like, especially if I start mixing and matching things like the broadside core, that's going to come naturally because there's going to be kinetic batteries and Gauss cannons already, so they're already going to be ripping through the shields. At which point I say, well, you know, I'm already working on the shields. Maybe we just kind of keep the pressure up. We don't worry about going directly through the shields. One of the big determinations for me on all of this would be if we don't, like if we were to know the overall composition of shields to armor, and I don't know, maybe you can find that in the wiki or something like that, you'd be able to kind of decide how much of your initial attack is not being spent on killing ships. So you can kind of think of that as like the armor boost or the shield boost almost. But again, because we don't really know that, we don't know what the exact benefit of bypassing shields are. So yeah, if we do something like the broadside core, we kind of already know what this looks like, right? I don't have kinetic batteries, and everything else basically kind of gets stopped by shields. Again, the phase disruptor is an exception, but the question is the phase disruptor enough? Is it worth it to do considerably less damage? So like, this is basically, the shield question is this. We got 622, which we can send directly to the hull right away. Alternatively, we've got 1630, a 50% bonus against anything interposing, but it's going to take a while to work through the shields. So like, if those shields kind of work out to be about 10 damage a second more, the phase disruptor makes a lot of sense, particularly if my entire fleet doesn't need to work through shields. If, on the other hand, the shields are actually a pretty formidable barrier, then we're in a situation where it's like, okay, we actually need to, like, we really do need to make sure that we've got kinetic weapons that can actually, like, take those things out and take them out as quickly as possible. So that means, like, a lot of very rapid fire shield bonus weapons. What I am curious about in this central module, though, right? So the weapons, like the artillery core, the broadside core, really kind of come back to the same question, right? I'd probably be inclined towards the artillery core, but I do want to know what the story is for hangars, right? So we already know what we do for medium. We'd probably just put a bunch of Gauss cannons in. But what is interesting is the question of advanced strike craft. So their average damage here is 40%. Oh, God. Okay. It's 40 damage and 100% shield penetration. Also, I believe, how would I account for this? Okay, actually it says advanced strike craft were 100% efficient, so it would say, I would probably say here that we don't want the strike craft. Oh right, oh no, of course, because it's penetrating the shield, so it's just direct damage straight to the hull. Right, okay. So that's the key that I need to make my design decision. So the question would be, so think of this as like a disruptor, right? So we've got 40 damage that's going directly to the hull. So maybe what we do here. So we kind of need to acknowledge that a fairly large amount of this is hitting shields instead of armor. So this is 112.65, and then we can compare that to the large number here. 112.17. Interesting. Or 112.71. So with that in mind, so there's the bonus to the... Okay. This is a trickier one, right? Because like basically the question would be, do I want 4 medium Gauss cannons with a guaranteed 40 straight to the hull, or do I want, do I want to really focus down with these things that become stronger once we get through the hull? And then kind of a same question here with broadside. So, honestly, I'm a simple man. Yeah, okay, so it's not that easy. So what I am curious about, though, so if we get rid of one of the hyper shields and I put a shield capacitor on, so that's 4785 compared to... Okay, so it's not as good as it would have been, but... So, like, this is an example of a ship that I would, like a large ship that I would send, with the possible exception of maybe taking the hangar and like throwing one of these in. Oh, I gotta put the shields back. Actually, in this case, I'd be able to field the full 5220. Okay. So, here's a couple of other considerations for how I'd go through. This'll kind of be the last that I say about fleet construction. Sure would help if I actually put the advanced strike craft in. Okay. So let's, I'm just going to use this as a bit of a template. So we've got a battleship here. Let's not worry about alloy cost, right? Let's just say that this is something that, one way or another, I'm going to be able to build a fleet of these things to defend the Empire with. And the question is, what kind of a fleet composition do I want out of this? So I've got one option here, and let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, it's 21068. So minus 40 for the... Oh, actually, it's a little harder math to do. Okay. One specification, let's just say it does a flat 21068 with 5220 shields and 11% evasion. Just so I can have it in my own head. So there's another version which is 21093 with 4785 shields. And again, 11% evasion. So the thing is that, like, when these guys get hit, they're going to get hit quite hard. So now what I'm going to do, the other thing to keep in mind, so we've said that the cost is basically the same. It's not. Obviously, there is a financial aspect to this. But the last thing to keep in mind is that battleships, I believe, have a cost of 8 command points. So 1 for corvette, 2 for destroyer, 4 for cruiser, 8 for battleship. So we're going to go back to our cruiser, or sorry, our corvette. We're going to go for our... Oh, not the auto best. So let's go for the missile boat variation. Particularly because it gets that nice Stormfire autocannon. So here I'm kind of playing... I'm playing around a little bit with the numbers here, right? Because, like, so much of the damage of this particular ship is actually pure damage straight to the hull. But again, I gotta like wrap this up. So so let's say we got 2257. So that's got 90% evasion. Okay. So what what this kind of comes down to is, like, on paper at least, how much power do I have, like, running these things into battle? Am I actually going to be able to sort of achieve what, like, in the end, the thing that I want these ships to do the most are sink enemy ships. And because I only have so much room inside of a fleet, like, what am I getting for each one? So, for instance, if we're doing 2257 on average for these ships, and I can kind of field 8 of them for every, battleship that I field. Well, what I'm kind of doing is I'm getting 180-56 for the same use. Like, basically the amount of damage that I'm doing from the perspective of, like, a single ship goes down by about 30 points. Now, the thing to remember about those 30 points is, again, so much of this damage here is ignoring enemy shields. So, there is something to be considered in terms of that trade-off. As far as the 435 for shields is concerned, because what you want to consider is you also want to consider survivability, right? So you have 8 of those, and as far as shields are concerned, they're going to be absorbing 3,480 into their shields. And then, I mean, obviously the hulls are going to be different as well. But the last thing that really messes around with these numbers is that evasion stat. Because if we go back and we take a look at the result, they didn't hit a lot. In fact, their largest weapons hit about half the time. And, so 22% of the shots apparently were evaded by the enemy, 11% missed. But, like, as far as the amount of damage that is being avoided by fielding screener ships as opposed to some of my larger, more fearsome ships, like, there is something of an argument to try and overwhelm these guys with a big fleet of, like, small missile boats. So, like, yes, we're going to lose a bunch of them in the battle. There's no question that there's a bunch of them that are going to get taken out by the extra-dimensional armada. The question is, do they get enough missiles through before that happens to be able to weaken them enough to either, take out some battleships? Honestly, taking out the escorts would be the best option. I believe you can design the fleet accordingly. So yeah, charge straight at enemies and try to deal as much damage as possible from point-blank range as opposed to intercepting the enemy. Yeah, there's only 2 options for the missile boats, apparently. I'd kind of prefer to engage from distance with the missiles, to be completely honest. But, like, then the Stormfire autocannon's not that helpful. Like, neither of these options are going to keep me at range, so... So that's essentially what I'm going to wind up doing. So as I start moving up to things like destroyers and cruisers and all of that, I am going to need to sort of sit down and have a bit of a think. But maybe the last thing that I'll do in terms of this digression on fleet design is this. Like, here's how the AI has not served me well against the Unbidden. And again, this is not a fault of the AI. The AI is trying to do the best against all potential enemies. But here are the really obvious problems with the designs that we have here. Gauss Cannon's good. I'd maybe prefer Stormfire autocannons because they seem to be a little bit better equipped against the Unbidden, but this is not a necessarily bad choice. However, we have an opportunity for another kinetic weapon, and instead what we have is something that gets a 75% reduction to its damage. So there is a small bit of logic behind this, which is you soften them up with the 2 kinetic batteries, and then you give them like a real haymaker with the plasma cannon. I don't know. I'll kind of have to work out the numbers on my own to see whether or not that's worth it. In terms of the supporting systems, a complete mess. Evasion is nice. I'm not entirely sure evasion is avoiding, another shield which has double the resistance of the alternative. Nice. And then, of course, crystal infused plating. Well, that's better than, that's better than the neutronium armor, which the Unbidden gets a bonus against. But I'd probably prefer more shields to armor. Like, the fact of the matter is once the shields are down, these ships are toast. So we might as well kind of extend the survivability of these things as long as possible, even if that means that we have to give up a little bit of hull. So the biggest, most obvious changes to me: more shields, ditch the plasma cannon. The destroyer, again, not a bad design overall. We'd want to ditch the plasma cannon. There's a whole question in terms of like artillery bow and stuff like that. I'm not even going to think about that right now. But at some point I don't think this would be able to actually have a full complement of shields, but clearly we need to get rid of the neutronium armor. That is just simply not serving us now. The cruiser actually is a pretty good one. If I had to take something into battle, I'd probably take my existing cruisers right now, with, of course, the usual exception that it's currently got neutronium armor, and probably we can do better than our advanced afterburners. But like this is definitely a configuration that I would expect would do well against the Unbidden. Unfortunately, the battleship I can't make the same claim for. So, spinal mounted Giga Cannon, that's good. Artillery for the kinetic battery, I love that. The carrier core is not fit for purpose. We've got 2 advanced strike craft. This is good. This is basically doing 80 damage a turn directly into the hull of the Unbidden. So that is a good feature. But in order to achieve that, we are getting flak artillery. So yes, they don't have armor. That's nice. But this is a point defense weapon, right? This does 6 damage. There is just clearly better alternatives. Essentially, we should have no point defense when we're going up against these guys. At the very least, bringing in a hangar core. Yes, I have to give up. I have to give up a unit of strike craft, but what I get in return, at the very least, is something like a kinetic battery, the Stormfire autocannon. Finally, let's see what the Titans bring. So the Perdition Beam doesn't really help us here. Now, the drawback is that there's no alternative to the Perdition Beam. So this actually gives something of a small argument that if I'm going to be bringing Titans, it would actually make a lot of sense for me to have more kinetic weapons for my existing ships. Because, of course, with those kinetic weapons, they're blasting down the shields, whereas if I'm focusing so much on shield penetration, then the Perdition Beam, which can do 5,000 to 10,000 damage turn, it's just constantly slapping up against the shields, and I'm just sad. So in that case here, the kinetic batteries, I love this. Like, I really like that the AI did this design. So the only complaint at this point would be, the neutronium armor. And then, we can probably do a little bit better than the advanced afterburners. I mean, maybe not. But in this case, it's okay. Another thing I'll probably want to consider would be these defense platforms. It's going to be too late to help out the terminal egress, but in this case here, ditching the plasma cannons. Effectively, everything needs to get rid of the plasma cannons, and the ion cannons are completely useless to us. Those are just going to get wiped out by the swarm. So I'll be honest, this playthrough is probably done, but I don't want to completely give it up. We are going to need to see how the AI handles it. I've definitely lost the terminal egress. We're never getting that back. But I guess it really kind of depends how far do they want to pursue their advantage. Like, do they want to come swarming into my territory, at which point I'm completely unprepared for them, or do they wind up going into the other regions and I get a little bit of time to refit and rearm. But what I'll probably do between now and next week, we'll try and fight this out to the bitter end. But what I am going to try and do is in the upcoming week, I do have a lot that I need to get through. But I'm going to try and spend some time with some spreadsheets and some note paper, and I'm going to try and work out a fleet that I'm reasonably happy with. I'm going to probably put some thought in terms of what values I would assign to like evasion in terms of sort of survivability and such. But that's kind of an example in terms of the sorts of thinking that I'm going to be doing. But again, it's worth noting here, right? I'm at 178 of 193. I haven't lost my Titans, which is okay, I guess. But everything else, we've just lost so many ships, and I'm going to need to think a little bit about how we rebuild to maximize sort of the efficiency against these. We know what type of weapons we need to bring. Now we need to think about what kind of composition in terms of ships that I'm going to be bringing in. And I think probably I need to graduate past the time of just evenly dividing between each category. I probably need to have some very specific thoughts in terms of saying, this is how much I want to bring in terms of the ability to take down shields. This is how much I want to bring in terms of the ability to to penetrate shields directly, and then this is going to be the rest that essentially will just tie up the enemy ships while my bigger ones do as much damage as they can. Hopefully that was not too tedious for everyone. I apologize if it was, but I know some people have asked about fleet composition. Certainly, I know it's not a lot of people kicking around right now, but let's take a look and see who we've got around here. I sometimes want to host Stellaris when I can, but I actually don't know. I really just don't know that many people who play Stellaris. So Outworld is currently streaming Mortal Kombat. I'm sure, one of his moderators will laugh at my paltry number of viewers, but I don't think that's a very good reason to not host someone. So I think I'm going to leave it with Outworld tonight. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you are interested in what the rest of the week holds, it should be Phantom Brigade on Wednesday. Remembering we're going to be starting a new Phantom Brigade run with the experimental branch, so I'm actually quite excited to see what that's going to bring. That does mean we're going to be doing some of the tutorial material, but honestly, I don't think it hurts to do tutorial material when a game is in early access. Because it's it's definitely something that it's something you probably want to, if nothing else, just let people kind of know how the game works when they're watching. As far as Friday, I've actually been really enjoying Hand of Fate 2 so far. So I don't know, like I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do for tonight, or for Fridays, but Hand of Fate 2 is going to be my default for a little while. So if you happen to like card-based dungeon crawlers with a action component, that your time is Friday. And of course, if you're just here for Stellaris, we're at the very least we'll have one more week of Stellaris. If we get just completely demolished, I don't see a lot of value in starting a new Stellaris run, so Monday I'll probably find another strategy game to play for a little while, and we'll see whether or not we wind up with the Overlord DLC. But we'll figure that all out in the future. Thank you for watching. Please enjoy Outworld, and we'll see you Wednesday, we'll see you Friday, or we'll see you next week. Until then.